Welcome back to the Four Horsemen. Once again, we are the Three Horsemen. Someday we'll have guests again. In the meantime, though, we've got
sign of our failing popularity, I think, Monty. I think we're washed, man. We can't even get guests.
Well, we do that. We do that.
We should just rebrand like Three Horsemen. Everyone's got to go, what the fuck does that even mean? There's not Three Horsemen in the apocalypse. We just lost one.
What we need is just the perma Roger Ebert on the episodes where we
That's what I mean.
have
we already have
horsemen.
a podcast where we have a fucking anonymous dead floating ephemeral fourth member. Like we just do it for this. Let's spare everyone the grievances and the problems that comes with being.
I think we should just have a picture of Travis Gafford as our permanent fourth horseman for when we need it.
I know right now I'm looking like a combination of badly fucking drawn boy and Sam Hyde, but I will throw out a direct invite to Travis. Like, come on and do a show.
Sure.
Let's do it. The state of league from Travis Gafford's perspective, the ultimate one. We've all worked together in some capacity. We've all interacted with each other. Stop fucking running up. It's not that we hate you, man.
And here's the other thing. Also, think about it, right? I know, here's the problem. I know on this show we have had some contentious episodes, but actually we'll be nice to you. That's the other thing. In general, it's
not all the time. I only tend to roast
100%. Yeah, but I only tend to roast the people I don't invite on, and I low-key thought might be a dickhead anyway. I actually know Travis. It would be fine if he came on. It would be fine.
You've always had a soft spot for Travis. You apologize.
Yeah, the thing about Travis is, well, we may not agree, and I think what's interesting is each of us individually disagree with him in different ways. We certainly don't agree on everything, but at the same time, he is like an endemic esports person, and there is a base level of respect there for people who are not inserted into this scene through corporate means, who picked themselves up by their bootstraps and managed to survive for over a decade. So there is a base level of respect
up by
there.
Double Lift's bootstraps, but why
God damn it, Richard, stop.
Whatever.
By the way, I do agree though, Monty. Like, there was a saying, I can't remember who it was. It might even have been like Doug Stanhope or something. I remember there was a comedian who once said that what people don't understand about the industry is, if I was in a hotel bar and I had a layover for like 3 hours, I would rather talk to a comedian you think I don't like or is my enemy than a fan. Like, the difference is I can chop things up with that guy. I can find some sort of common ground. I think it would be the same premise here. Like, first of all, it's not like it would be an exposé of Travis Gafford. It would be like, what are his thoughts on the industry and what's going wrong, etc. So I feel like there could be an episode here. With that said, I don't blame him if he just want to do it, and I totally understand.
Look, listen,
that would probably be the answer.
You don't have you send up. You've got to do two things, Travis, before you're officially sent off. And by the way, I mean, we should do an episode about Travis's retirement in a way, because like I watched it, and the fact that you've tentatively left the door open because Worlds is going to be in NA and you want to come back and have the moment and all that.
Right.
That's a bit fucking lame. But you're not officially like recorded as having had a serious esports career until you do a Four Horsemen episode. That is a new benchmark I invented today, and a reflection series with Duncan. You got to do at least one.
It's true.
If you hide from both of those,
true.
My respect,
by the way,
which is obviously very high for Travis, it would be knocked
and also. Here's the thing, like what we would talk about is, the state of the business mostly within the industry, because look, whoever it is,
perspective on League of Legends.
Yeah, whoever it is.
We almost certainly know some things we don't know about the NAC and some of the magazines. Absolutely, yeah.
But it's also like whoever it is, it sucks that the key interviewer and therefore custodian of professional history, really, for the LCS/LTA North, whatever garbage they're calling it now, is gone, because now we don't have that through line of this person doing player interviews for the entire history of the LCS. That just objectively sucks. And especially because he's going to be able to reference things that happened a decade ago and ask similar questions and try and really codify that history and make sure that we get the correct answers from the players. I mean, it is a big bummer, and it says very bad things about the state of business within North American League of Legends, which we knew about, right? But this is a really, I think, important topic, and no one who is covering. I mean, the press room, like, to put this in perspective, and this is what I would really like to hear Travis's opinion on, because the press room at the LCS used to be stuffed with people. We used to be seeing interviews every week.
Riot kept banning people from going, so,
whatever.
But that's why it's not as full as it used to be.
But I mean, there used to be people writing articles there who were there every week. There used to be people who were there as part of various different outlets, including, On Gamers or Yahoo Esports or whatever it was. Travis was part of these things as well.
Yeah.
And we used to get multiple different voices in there, hearing from the different players, and even at international competitions now. I mean, the press coverage, the video interview coverage of players has dwindled and dwindled and dwindled and dwindled till it's almost nothing, which is shocking because
a lot of it is just press conference shit now. I notice,
Yep. Yeah, but I mean, we used to, which is surprising because the international scene of League of Legends is still really massive. Like the viewership hasn't tanked on like MSI. It's hitting new records at MSI World seemingly every time. And so for that to go down also is confusing. But I mean, the press room would have just been empty except for Travis by the end of this. And that's just because they've made it harder and harder. I mean, the answer is because the LCS is like dead. It's not even dying at this point in time. It's just dead.
The numbers are actually embarrassing.
Oh, they're terrible. They're terrible
at this stage. And it's sad. It used to be the best product. I mean, I've heard you guys wax lyrical about it. I've been out on League for a lot longer than you. But, when I think about all the big personalities and how, in a way, the personalities that were in the league were a gateway to, like, you would watch their stream and then you would learn more about them. And so you would want to watch the games and then you would watch the games. And there would be all this interpersonal rivalry. Like I've said this a lot about esports games that have died. It's everyone's instinct to suppress big personalities. And then when the big personalities are all suppressed, then we create a new blueprint of what a player or an interviewer or a commentator or an analyst or a host, we create this new blueprint of what they should look like. And it's shit. And they don't have any personality. Everyone goes, wow, the game's dead. It's stuffy. It's kind of sad. It's kind of lame. But you kill all of those people. Like, you drive all of those people out. And it's like, Saint Vicious. What a fuck. You know what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
Like, how much do we miss a guy like that right now?
Absolutely.
The Odd One. How much do we miss a guy like that right now? I used to watch all of their shit. It's like, and by the way, it doesn't always have to be like, controversial. It's just sometimes you can just be interesting, you can be quirky.
Bro, how about Trick 2G? That was a classic one. All he did is fucking sort of troll, but he was hilarious when he was meditating, yeah.
Troll the shit out of you with you, dear. Love that motherfucker.
Sure.
But also, like, there's no conveyor belt replacing these people, and that's by design, because Riot don't like that. Riot gets squeamish, the developer gets squeamish, the streaming platforms get squeamish, because occasionally a big personality is going to say something fucking nuts. They're going to say something crazy.
Oh, I remember when St. Vicious actually did this, I had to do like an interview after where he could like cry and apologize. He famously said, Monty, something like, depression, that's not bloody real, is it? Like, it's like...
No, it was like depression, just man the fuck up.
I know, he did sort of do
depression isn't real. And Void Boy came out and said, actually, man, you
that's also in keeping, it's entirely on brand. But yeah, the problem is, as I was saying,
by the way, I bet
he picked the wrong third rail topic.
If you interviewed St. Vicious now, he'd go, listen, low-key, it ain't real. Because it's not real to him. Everyone's got different opinions on shit. And
I also think it's super funny because, I know Saint relatively well, and I've seen him over the years since he retired from League of Legends because he still lives in Southern California. So when I would go to parties in LA or something like that, he would be invited. And he's actually just like the nicest guy ever. So we would just sit down and chat for hours.
Such a nice guy. Like, by the way, time for anyone. I interacted with him, maybe like, obviously a lot less than you, handful of times. Always super gracious. Always actually made the effort to be like, oh, you're Richard Lewis. You make content about this stuff. You wrote this article about me. I think I wrote some article when he retired about, like, with some shit play on words. I did a lot of them back then. Like canonized, demonized and canonized, the St. Vicious story or something. It was something shit like that. But, where are these people now, man? like seriously, even if I wanted to get back into League of Legends, which I don't, because as Travis found out, it's a fucking dead end in terms of coverage and the upside to having a career, because you got a subreddit controlled by fucking loser incel moderators that delete things they don't like, fully sanctioned by Riot to do it. By the way, if Riot don't like you, good luck having a career. So what's the point with any of that? But I mean, like, where are the guys? Where are the personalities? Like, seriously, is there one right now in NA? I just want to know.
Not really. Like, you have to realise, even the people who were like personalities, rather just like imported European players, like Whip or something, or like maybe like Fudge, even he's from Australia, by the way. Like, no, there aren't really. They just aren't really. Now it's more like about just being liked, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the other problem. When the only measurement of success is popularity, this is what you get, dude. It's bad. I watched this happen in StarCraft. I've seen this happen in Dota. Thank God we came out of that. Because I work in Dota now, and I'm like loving working with this current crop of people.
No, what's funny is I always told Monty, it's not even like when the viewership went down or when, like, relative to, like, you know, Korea, they couldn't compete in the game. I always said what actually was the stupidest thing about the death of the LCS was if you actually could go back in a time machine now, you don't do it as a sports broadcast. It's WWE. You had Double Lift and the Odd One and St. Vicious and Reginald and Hot Shot. You had the whole thing right there. Like, look, you have a game in the sense of as a structure for the show, but you make it all about the personalities and the talk. And by the way, and you'd have Travis on your fucking broadcast with the players, etc. You could have done so much with that. By the way, the joke back in the day was it was the other way around. Europe had all these shit hot players, but they didn't have personalities. Like, they were dog shit on a mic if you put a mic in front of Frog, and he's just going to say something weird and awkward. And Expechere was considered some outrageous party animal, Monty, by just being a normal human being. Like, it was mental. Like, he wasn't even that funny, mate. But they were like, oh my god! But that's how bad we were losing Europeans to North America.
Do you know when I knew? You know when I knew it was over for LCS? When I knew that no one in the whole of NA has any understanding about what actually drives engagement and what people like and what people want. It was the Latigris situation with TSM and Double Lift about 2.5 years ago. And I knew then she crafted a really well written segment about
the way they threw her under the bus was disgraceful, wasn't it? Yeah.
About how there might be. She never assumed there was.
No.
She explained that there could be a rivalry between Double Lift and TSM. Reginald had done these negative things, which we all know he's done. Right? And Double Lift might want to get back at TSM. And TSM complained. And Double Lift, because he always used to call her, what was it, La Cringe Tress? Or I don't know, workshop that, bro.
I know.
So he hated her as well. And the fans are like, no, don't insult the players. It's not an insult. It's an observation. It's speculation. It's what we do in normal adult sports since fucking time immemorial, since people were in fucking
it's what makes them interesting a lot of the
arenas.
Time.
Yeah, exactly. Do you reckon that motherfucker's going to chop off that motherfucker's head with a sword? I reckon he might. He's pretty big. Wow, he just got murked. There you go. Who knew Trident guy would win? That's what we've been doing for like 2,000 fucking years, probably longer. Aztecs loved that skull into the whole game.
That was a game, yeah. That was like their basketball or whatever. Yes.
Who knows what kind of conversations they used to have? And it's like, why is it bad now? Why is it bad? Because you catch feelings. And we give in to these fucking fan bases in esports time and time again. And then we all look around at each other. Hey, why don't we have a product anymore? Because whether they will admit it or not, you could literally put a spotlight in their face and go, tell me the answers, Mr. TSM fan. And they will not fucking tell you the answers, is what they'll say. Suspiciously German accent on that one. We'll move past it, right? What they won't ever tell you is they like the drama. They like the drama, and they like the outrage, and they like being upset. And that's really why they're there. They don't really care about the results even.
No.
Like, in losing, there's still something to be enjoyed, right? As long as the drama's there.
Absolutely.
And so you do everything to harvest every single vector for drama out of the scene. And then you go, why is it dead? Are you fucking stupid? Like, I mean, like, how many more esports do I have to watch be killed by the supposed gatekeepers of the flame that love it the most, apparently, do not get it? You do not get it. We're not talking about a mature audience. We're talking about a very immature audience. We're talking about a very immature pursuit if we just put all our cards...
No, by the way, my analogy would even be, this is what they would actually do. It's fitting, since obviously Hulk Hogan, RIP, right? And by the way, I'm not a dickhead, so guess what? I didn't know him, the real Terry, whatever his name was. I knew a character, therefore I can enjoy the character. The character didn't say any of that shit. In fact, actually, it was someone else who called him a certain word one time. Shout out Booker T. If you know the reference, you know the reference. Look it up online.
Listen. I always like to think Booker T gave him a one-time.
Listen, in a way, he did. That's the weirdest part. Anyway, but the point would be, if you think about Hulk Hogan, right? One of the most genius things he did in his career was the biggest, craziest heel turn of all time. And by the way, they didn't just do it like you normally do with a heel turn. You do it for like a year, then you often come back. He rode that out for like 5 years or something, guys, and it was like they actually basically took your favorite wrestler and made him do all the shit you hate on camera, right? The analogy here would be if you had LCS fans, they'd have just cancelled the heel turn within like 2 days, and you'd have never had Hollywood Hogan, which was actually like his sort of second arc of his whole fucking career. So these idiots wouldn't get it, because I know what you mean. I saw
no
a
bash
thread
at the beach
the other day that would blow your fucking mind, Richard. Right? There is nobody that knows less about CS or is more worthless on camera, according to the Global Offensive subreddit, than yours truly. I know nothing. I was never funny. But you know what? There was actually a thread that was like, what's happening with all the analysts? And there was even real haters of man like, you know what? You say what you like, but that Thorin was pretty good. It's like, oh, you figured it out now.
We do it every time. We do it every time.
I got the same stuff as League, right?
Yeah, right.
People are like, I miss Monty being the villain on the desk. I'm like, well, turns out that was kind of necessary.
No, but here's also the thing. Before it descends, it makes it, people at home are already going, wow, these guys love to suck each other off. We do, yes, but here's
that's why you're here.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You like watching us self-fillet as well. It's it's easier. It's got easier with age, despite what people would think. But no, the reality is this: that it's not that we don't even think that there's people that are better than us or like haven't replaced us or fill the gap. It's that the opportunity to isn't even there anymore.
Yep.
Like we came up at a time in esports when you could really go out there, you could really push the boundaries. I'm sure we can look at all sorts of points in our career and go, that joke I made on that desk, I hope no one ever brings that clip up again. You know what I mean? There's some iconic stuff. But there's some stuff where it's like, I mean, like a lot of people always throw up that fucking. Me and Duncan did a show match in 2016 with Red Eye. It's just all your favorites.
Well, CTV, look it up.
Yeah. And we ended up doing casting. That was the gimmick.
The best part of it, by the way, Monty, is when he tells you some of the stuff that was said. The person who actually was taking this hardest was Red Eye. Red Eye was like. So please don't get me.
Yeah, Red Eye was like, you're going to get me bloody cancelled. He was like hitting the mute button.
He was absolutely, because you have to remember, this is only like 2 years after he himself fired me from Cannavita, so you could tell he was on pins and knees the whole time, like, please don't make this the joke that cancels me.
Duncan and I were, okay, so
I love it.
Just to tell a full story, we were originally brought in because we were like, we had By the Numbers, we had that podcast, right? And so we were like brought in to do the fucking, show match, and that was going to be the gimmick, but Red Eye wanted to come back and cast like one more time. So we were brought in and we were like, you haven't got a problem doing it with Red Eye as a 3-man cast. And Duncan was like, nah, mate, I'll do anything for me. And I was kind of like a bit more, I don't know, like actually it's better. Me and Duncan have our understanding. We got our chemistry. Maybe Red Eye's going to fuck with that. But in the end, I was like, just fuck it, man. Like he's doing this all the time. Right, he obviously loves it. He obviously misses it. Like, give the heavyweight boxer with CTE one more fucking fight, right? So we went out and we fucking did it, and Duncan was fucking on one, bro. Like,
the highlight video is legit good. Like,
the highlight video is just Duncan saying, right. It's Duncan saying the most outrageous shit you can possibly say.
Oh, you do have to remember, Monty, this is 2016, but in March. So this is pre-Trump, pre-Brexit. Yeah. So you have to realise, I'm doing shit like sight gags about people being fat and ugly players, by the way. In the match.
It was before the Trump effect had kicked in, right?
Yeah. No, the people hadn't started cancelling people yet. I was in my head.
Trump had only just been like sworn in or whatever. So anyway, Red Eye barely got a word in, and I just kept going, reference game on point, and that was that. Yeah. And we dizzled our way through it. Yeah. But one of the ones I couldn't believe it is where it was like we had to talk about changes on the map because we were revealing a map for the first time. It was Nuke.
It's a new version of Nuke.
Yeah, new version of Nuke. And anyway, so we were told our only show no input was occasionally talk about the map and how it's changed, right? And anyway, I said, well, I'll tell you what, guys, this seems more T-sided. And Duncan went, the whole world is these days, mate. and that was that. And it's like, where do you go from that, bro?
Pretty good line.
Yeah. By the way, straight fire line still gets quoted.
By the way,
but
and this is
absolutely fucking outrageous.
We're talking about hey Dave, like still a bit of ISIS going on out in the world. This thing's topical. It was good material.
I mean, listen, too topical, mate. So anyway, the point being, like,
that would go down worse today. I'll give you that.
Fucking 100% it would. So the problem was we did have, like, even though Duncan's been cancelled, I've been cancelled, we've all been cancelled, we've all been the villain of the day at various points in our career, where you just get shat on and you're like, is this even proportionate?
I do appreciate, though, that what we've learned is being cancelled is a little bit like being impeached, like Trump taught us as president. It only works if you yourself have a degree of self-shame and you go like Nixon, like, better just leave then. If you can just do like Trump and go, wait, so what actually does this mean then? Well, I can just like continue on. You just keep going, mate. They cancel you again. You're like, fuck so as many times as you want.
Yeah, so it's purely like a ceremonial thing.
I'll just keep doing it. Yeah, don't worry about it.
But I get to stick around, right? Yeah. You're meant to resign in shame. Well, I won't be doing that.
I know exactly.
Being cancelled is like that. So even though it's happened to all of us, what I will say is that it felt like we came up at a time when there was a lot more space to grow. Like, by the way, after that show match, Adam Apicella, who was running MLG, sorry to throw Adam under the bus, I guess, but whatever. It's 10 years, statute limited.
Another person who should come on the show.
Another person who would be good to have on the show. He, like, literally said, like, I thought that went really well. He loved it. So I was like, well, if you're happy.
Well, that's because, Adam, I mean, this is the thing about the tone in esports. And, like, I'm not going to repeat other people's jokes that could get them in trouble these days. But all I'm going to say is if you were around in the Golden TV days, the outrageous shit that Artosis and Tasteless would say, like, outrageous. It was very funny, by the way, very funny. Like, they're great casters, funny guys. But you would never get away with that these days. And I think, this isn't some lament for a less professional time. Maybe it is a little bit. But I think we
haven't even started the show yet. We have just like jerking about the good old days of esports for like 40
I'm tying this back to the LCS
point. It will fit in, we promise you. We script.
No, I'm tying this back to the LCS point, which is that one of the things that was when we got involved in esports, and one of the things that made the LCS popular, which is the LCS came in with popularity because of the popularity of the North American players. How did they get popular? Because of their streaming, because of the independent tournaments, because of the outrageous shit they said, because of TSM legends and like these incredibly, crass vlogs that TSM was making. And you could say, well, we have to professionalize the scene a little bit because we would like to make money. Okay, true. But at the same time, when it comes to these kind of jokes, it's not just, to Richard's point, that we're learning about where the line is. That's true to a certain degree, but also the fact that this was always a grassroots thing that was appealing to, base humor, let's put it that way.
Sure.
And but that's what it was, and that's what made it appealing.
You put people on a live broadcast, and you go, bro. You got to be you got to be all things to all men. You got to be funny. You got to be able to fill
on the spot.
You got to.
By the way, are the producers going to help you? No. You have to do all the work.
Put it this way, I have never had in my entire career a producer or a director in my ear tell me something really cool to say on air. Like I never done that. Some people have paid for that. You can apparently some broadcasts you can have a stats guy sit there and feed you really cool shit. But I never did that. I just do my own research. I say I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But like the fucking crazy thing is you are out there on your motherfucking own the whole time. And you are expected to be all of those things. Like when there's a need for gravitas, you gotta have gravitas. Oh, look, it's really sad. Look at a guy crying. He's just lost the game. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but his father just passed away before. You got to hit that tone. And then the next minute, something really funny's happened. Lol, his fucking mouth stopped working in the middle of a clutch. Lol, I got to come up with a pun about that, about the fucking, he thought maybe it's time to go wireless. Or, you know what I mean? I got to do all of these things at the drop of a hat in a live TV environment for 12 hours a day. and you don't want me to fuck up.
7 days a week.
Like, I'm sorry, man. You are expecting esports people to be fucking insane. And what I love about the current crop of a lot of esports talent, it's almost like they've watched the environment we were forged in And they've like realized intuitively, I better have that in my locker. Like, I think some of these guys, by the way, like we've got particularly in like, I think Counter-Strike and Dota are the big two for just having talent that are just unfucking real right now. It's not to be disparaging about anybody else and any other crap, but I'm talking about like these guys, they can commentate, they can be funny, they can podcast, they write skits. They just do everything, and they can do everything, and they can do everything to like an S tier level of competency. It wasn't like that for us. Like, I mean, I wouldn't even say that about myself. You know what I mean? Like, I think I was a B or an A on like Duncan's analyst list. B, if it was a B. If it's a B,
so,
yeah. If it's a B, I'll definitely accept that 100%. That's a valid assessment.
I mean, you were doing it when there were no other analysts, mate. I always used to say, me and you used to be on the desk. Neither of us saw our players. Like, we were just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're just doing it. You know?
And we always used to come in with the same thing. I'm like, right, you hit the history, and I'll hit the like journalist on the sideline. Well, I heard there's friction within the team, Duncan. What could that mean? And like we were out there. We were never like hilarious. We ever did a podcast called By the Numbers, considering we were so fucking numbers averse, right?
Yeah, I know.
So I mean, but that was just what we had at the time, and the thing we understood was like how to package it in a way people wanted to listen to, and that's just all esports is. You just got to make people want to listen, and people want to listen to authentic personalities. You strip an esport of that, it's in big fucking trouble. And League of Legends is in big fucking trouble. It's not even about the relative strengths of the regions or the fan bases. It's that the regions that are strong don't have big personalities for maybe cultural reasons, linguistic reasons. It's a you thing, not a them thing. They might be big personalities in Korea. It's just when you do a translated interview, it's never going to come across.
But the thing is, the Koreans never had to have that. So there's a couple things here. First off, I would say that to the WWE point, I can tell you from knowing the producers and working at OGN, they were former wrestling producers, most of them, before they moved
the original
into
outfits even look like that in StarCraft.
Yes, so like
no, but you can tell from the walkouts and everything.
The hilarious thing is that Korea, even though they were the best, was also more WWE somehow. How the fuck did that work? You know what I mean?
Because they're reverential of that stuff out there.
Yes, but it's like the players bought into it a lot of the time in Korea, you know, and also they were famous for scripting like WWE, some of the interviews and getting the players to say the spicy things and convincing them to do it. You know, but they had the banger lines all written for them in advance because they're smart. And so, but the thing is, like, how could Korea win at being both more WWE and being better? And to your point, Richard, they don't always have to have the personality in the interviews because they win the fucking games.
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
Yeah,
LCS could have been more WWE because anybody with a brain, which is not the people who are in leadership positions at Riot Esports, would have realized these guys are going to get their asses kicked by the Koreans day in and day out for the next decade. They are never going to be world class, ever. And I said that. These, like, just knowing Koreans and the state of the scene in Korea versus the state of pro players in North America,
if you remember, Monty, we don't even do anymore the full political discussion of like, is the gap closing? Because there will never be a closed gap.
It will never
like,
close.
But that was the real story for like the first 10 years. It was like, is it? And then eventually people realized it was a worthless topic.
But it's never going to close because of the players that they have, the culture that they have, the reality of the game, right? The reality of the lack of new talent, you know, and the fact that people are like, well, they just kept recycling the same old players. There's no choice. Who are the new players in League of Legends in North America? There isn't a young person player base anymore. So anyway, this is all to say that these idiots in charge of the LCS didn't go they wanted to be the button-up sports route, but they were always just going to get their asses kicked.
Yeah.
And
which everyone, it's the mistake everybody makes.
Of course.
And the joke is, what they also missed, Monty, to be fair, you couldn't tell 10 years ago, even sports now has to go that route, Monty. That's why they need Pat McAfee, and they need fucking the Manning cast, and they need all that shit. You can't even put up sports isn't a thing anymore. CBS Galazio and football. Everyone's doing this route now. Everyone's gone that route.
Even the NBA is trying to escape its boring-ass regular season by implementing the mid-season tournament. They could have done more with formats, but instead, they literally did the dumbest shit that even, as to your point, in terms of formats, in terms of tone, that even sports is trying to escape right now. So they tried to become sports while sports was trying to not become sports, which is fucking hilarious.
We tried. I'll be more on the nose with it. Sports. We were still trying to become sports 20 years after realizing that wasn't the way to go. When sports was trying to become us, because they learned that in the pandemic.
Basically, sports is trying to become what OGN was. Right. And
wild, right?
we had to kill OGN. Like Riot and Blizzard had to team up to fucking pile drive OGN. And now we don't even have that. And now they're like, but where's the viewership?
I mean, look, I'll also tell you again, just use an example from CS that I hope people understand. It's like we've had an uptick in Chinese teams specifically doing well in Counter-Strike of late. The scene's in flux. We got new rosters. We've had these Chinese teams make it to a few international events. And basically, like when we had this is like just a month ago, we had a team, Linvision. They obviously came out for the major, and look, helped by the format, no doubt, but every time they kept winning against the odds, they would send out this player called Amelia QAQ, and he'd lived in like NA, I think, for a while. Is that right? I want to say.
I think wasn't it the Call Me Sue guy that lived in America?
Oh, no, you're right. It was Call Me Sue guy.
But
yeah. So anyway, yeah, basically they had two players. One had lived in NA briefly, so he loved to do interviews. And the Amelia QAQ guy didn't speak particularly great English, but was game as fuck to do an interview. He went on to a Brazilian stream to speak to a Brazilian interviewer in single word answers in English as a Chinese guy. And fucking basically did one of the interview was like one of the top posts on live stream, Phil, because he just was like, you're my brother, kid, like shaking his hand. It was sick. It was totally fucking sick. It was really, really cool. And then we have G over at Tyloo, who they went out of the tournament, and basically he turned around and said look, please cheer on for the other Chinese players, please do it. And he showed a willingness to go out there and engage with the media and be a big personality. Do you know how crazy it is that Chinese players are the ones that are being the biggest personalities, saying the things in interviews where other people might not? I think it was that Amelia QAQ guy. Again, sorry if I've mixed it up with the Call Me Sue guy. It's kind of hard. They're both the same player in a way in my brain, because they had pictures. They did this thing where they did I don't know, not a waifu cosplay, whatever the equivalent is in China. That was kind of mind blowing, because when they beat Falcons, Linvision, people were posting, haha, you lost to femboys, fuck you, Saudi. It was it's been wild in Counter-Strike, bro. We're having a resurgence. But these guys, just by having a willingness to engage with the media, meanwhile everyone else is like, oh, should we say this? I don't want to say anything too spicy. I don't want to. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, and everyone loves these guys. And I realized in that moment, yeah, even in CS, the rock and roll of esports, we've been starved of real personality. And it will hurt our game if we don't encourage and nourish these people and make them, even when they say the thing you don't like, go, but he said 99 other things I liked. So there's no need to destroy this person. We don't have to do that, right? Not everything has to be a picture of Andrew Tate, that you hurl rocks at in your brain. Not everything has to be that. And by the way, people who don't speak English as a first language, they're more likely to slip up. They're more likely to say something, and it might not have the same cultural relevance.
I mean, the classic one is Russians are always going to do something accidentally say rape or something mental like that,
exactly.
And not realise that has a different connotation.
Don't mean that, just give people a little bit of grace. Reinforce the importance of look, in a global group, we've got these standards that we like to do so everyone feels welcome, and I understand that word has a different connotation in this context there, and etc. But if we could just not, And that's it.
Like, Monty, I'll give you the example. I'll give you the example of the fact that at the fringes of the empire, there still are these outposts where the wild men roam. Right? This player who's the biggest talk of the town in Counter-Strike, Kiyosuke, this guy who just signed for $2 million to Falcons. Wow. Yeah, he just turned his stream on like last month or something, Monty. Or maybe it was 2 months ago. He just had his stream and someone just said something like, why don't you rate female players? So he was like, yeah, why not? Just pulled him up on screen, was picking
the classic, the St. Vicious. We're back to St.
Vicious.
No, but the joke is...
You remember the shitstorm it caused over there?
That is the original, that's where esports was. And so the joke is, though, you can imagine that immediately gets super shut down and everyone, that's like so verboten immediately. And that guy will have been told, shut the fuck up, like, don't say anything, go through the PR. But you won't ever get pussies at that again. I agree, both on talent and for players. They only want the curated personality now, if you know what I mean. Like, probably the most depressing thing I've ever heard in the world of talent is, obviously, I have literally tried to some degree, I'll never say I made him, but I did mentor Maui in doing a similar style to me, just because he was walking the same path. He was never a pro, and his whole shit was like, let's have like strong opinions and put myself out there with content. And so one of the saddest moments ever is this, Monty. 10 years ago, it was me popping off on Reddit that made me impossible to ignore for ESL. They even said when they hired me back again for Cologne, in their like joke fake newspaper article about like Voldemort coming back or whatever, they put he is impossible to ignore. Right? Are you ready for the biggest bomber, depressor, black pill of all time in CS talent work? Maui isn't hired by ESL anymore. And one of the things behind the scenes that I heard as a rumor, but supposedly it's real, is ESL looks at things like Reddit again, and people on Reddit don't like Maui, so they don't hire him. So the method that made me go to the top means Maui can't be at the top. That's how mad esports is now.
Yeah. Yeah, but as I said,
you couldn't even do it again. You couldn't.
No, and this is the thing. Like we've got it very good over in CS by contrast to League, and to tie all this together, because this wasn't even a planned segment. This is just a shooting the shit. I mean, like Travis leaving, like I think it is significant. I don't think it's like.
Oh yeah. By the way, there also is nobody will replace him. Like I've seen the other people do the interviews. They're dog shit mates. They're faceless people. You know?
Let's be real. Travis has a type of charisma that's perfect for League of Legends.
Absolutely.
And he got content out of people and moments out of people that nobody else could have got. Right?
And I always thought you always came across a lot more normal on camera than people in esports, especially in that era when everyone's a mega nerd. Like, you actually came across charisma's the right word.
Yeah, exactly right. And unfortunately, when somebody like him chooses to step away, it's impossible for him to say it's not because of this, it's not because of that. You know, it's like, I listened to his 20-minute video, and it's like pretty much all of it is there. Everything is there, which is the league sucks. No one's watching. No one's, by the way, all of Travis's mates have done this to him in a way. The reason he can't get sponsors is because esports is a dirty word now because of people like Team Liquid and Cloud9 and TSM. No one will touch it again for a long time.
Riot itself, the LCS itself burned a bazillion sponsors.
Yeah, you know, it's like you can only take so much money and not serve up the fucking deliverables baked into the deal so many times.
The shitty irony is that he was actually serving up the deliverables. That's the thing, is that when sponsors got burned, it was because what would happen is a team would go out and they would say, okay, you know, we're going to put your jersey, or we're going to put your logo right here on the jersey, and Nielsen's going to track that, and you will get exactly like the number of seconds it's on and the average concurrent viewership, so you can ballpark your views. But and they could guarantee that pretty effectively.
Yep.
Not anymore, because viewership is declining. Like, I imagine part of the Honda deal was like those deliverables probably weren't being met that they sold years ago, because the league is literally like a third of the size that it was 3 years ago.
Yes.
So maybe less, actually. But the other factor is that the teams would say, well, you know, we're going to do this content and we're going to feature you in the content. But the thing with teams is that there is no guarantee that that content does numbers. You know, when we
nowadays it doesn't, I can tell you.
Yeah. So like when we sell a podcast with LFN, say Summoning Insight, we are drawing on a decade of viewership. And like, we know there's like a floor to that viewership, and we can guarantee things. And the other thing we can do is, oh, we didn't hit those numbers? Well, here's a free ad read for you on the next one so that we do hit those numbers. You know what I mean? But a lot of the times it's impossible for the teams to deliver those numbers. But I think Travis probably has a pretty good idea of when he does a double lift interview, what kind of numbers that's going to do. And so, he can secure those interviews. He has his own podcast that has a certain reliable range of viewership with Hotline League. So the shitty thing for Travis is I think that he actually could deliver on what sponsors wanted.
I think you would have known exactly what you were getting with his content.
By the way, here's maybe where I understand. But again, Travis, it wouldn't have to be like this on the episode you're on. But here's where it is hard to hold back all the straight fire jokes, which is also the problem is if you made your name off doing interviews with Double Lift, well, eventually he figured out a webcam on his own fucking PC, didn't he? He can't you, the literal middleman, I'm afraid, at that point. He has direct access to his fans.
That's funny. That's a good one.
Even Double Lift figured that one out after 10 years.
It was like, the 1,000 monkeys with 1,000 typewriters with double lift and a webcam. If you give him enough years, eventually he'll figure out how a USB port works.
Not bad.
Even though the irony of that, remember, Monty, is that him and Mykles and Sneaky were really confused by the premise of the infinite monkeys with infinite typewriters doing Shakespeare. Richard, you should, for real, if you're ever drinking, just watch this clip. It's a clip from their stream. Right. They say all the classic stupid things like, but how would it make sense like Shakespeare? Or they say everything that you want them to say. On the
basically, just zero concept.
You have to understand.
Infinity.
They also. This is also where they have actually stumbled onto the actual like fucking fountain of youth of eternal content like comedy, because they also literally they are essentially three Carl Pilkingtons with no Ricky Gervais. Like they also did another one, Richard, where they stumble around and all three collectively managed to not understand the Monty Hall problem. And I think one of them might even have been Double Lift, understands it initially, but by talking to the other two becomes less able to understand the actual solution. And it's like watching it is like, this is just Carl Pilkington content. You're just watching them be morons. Like, what is this? It's mad. You got to watch it. It's a banger.
All right,
that's my recommendation.
I'll check it out. But I mean, look, the long and the short of it is, I mean, it's just like, I don't know, it's just sad. It's sad that they, over in League, created an environment where there's no room to be a personality, even in co-streaming.
We here at the Four Horsemen are delighted to be sponsored by Wooting. What is Wooting, you might ask? Well, they're just the very best keyboard company on the planet, period. And as you can see here, I've got my Wooting keyboard. Now, what makes them different than other keyboards, you may be asking? Well, first off, instead of mechanical switches, they use Hall effect sensors. What this means, it's a magnetic style of switch that will detect the actuation down to the millimeter, which means you can set a custom actuation point on every single one of your keys differently if you are crazy and so choose. Where this is very useful is, hey, maybe you want your WASD keys to be a little bit more sensitive in an FPS game like Counter-Strike, Apex Legends. Maybe you want your QWER keys in a MOBA to be a little bit more sensitive so that you can touch them. Maybe if you're playing League of Legends, you want your flash less sensitive, so if you brush up against it, you don't accidentally flash and set it on that 5-minute cooldown. So these are very good. They also last an extremely long time, and if you're worried about your keycaps, they still use the Cherry MX stems. But unlike a normal mechanical keyboard where the actuation point for every switch, every key is going to be exactly the same, these are completely customizable. They're also used by an extraordinary amount of pros. According to ProSettings.net, 2 of the top 3 keyboards used by professional Counter-Strike players are the Wooting 80HE and the Wooting 60HE Plus, and over 150 pro CS players in total use and swear by Wooting keyboards. They also have really, really advanced technology in terms of counter strafing. They have rapid triggers, so it'll smooth out your strafing, particularly in FPS, because it dynamically changes the actuation and deactivation points of your keys. So basically, when you release a key, the instant you release it and you stop pushing it down, it means that it will stop registering. So you don't have to go back up to the actuation point. So when you're strafing, as soon as you hit that next key and you deactivate it, your strafe is basically going to stop immediately. trust me, I play Apex Legends. It smooths out your strafing really, really consistently. So you guys will get competitive advantages off of this. It's completely programmable, like I said. It has different modes, so you can switch it to your FPS mode and change those actuation points, so it's not super annoying to have different keys and different actuation points while you're typing an email. So they've thought of everything. The utility, the software that comes with it is extremely easy to use and makes setting up your keyboard an absolute breeze. This thing will last you many years into the future. So head on over to wooding.io and use code HORSEMEN, plural, MEN, and the first 250 customers will also be receiving a free Wooding Uwu, like the face Uwu. You can see it here, Uwu. With the keyboard. This is a $50 value. It's used for OSA and rhythm games, but it's also fully programmable and has an RGB bar across the top. So you could use it like a Stream Deck. You could use it for macros. You can use it whatever you want. It's a cute little keyboard companion, and it is yours free. $50 value, and it comes with, as long as you put that keyboard into your cart, guys, add any keyboard from Wooding and an Uwu, and you will get the Uwu for free with code HORSEMEN. So get your Uwu for free now. Go to wooting.io and use code HORSEMEN to buy yourself the best keyboard you can buy.
This is a tough one, but like, you know, they've done it to Dom a bunch, man. Dom's good people. I like Dom. I mean, like, you know, we're not super tight or anything, even though he's technically like a friend of the network, in the network, does content with the network, etc. But I like Dom a lot. He's got a really good heart, and you know, he likes to. It's like us. He likes to be critical of shit that deserves to be criticized. And you know, look, sometimes we don't always like nail the tone or the tenor, especially if it comes from like just a spontaneous moment, like just out there like that. Sometimes it might go a bit far. Some of us have had a hard time even adjusting to the concept of having an audience, particularly a big audience, and what's appropriate and how do I wield it. But he's a good guy, and ultimately, like every single time he's ever done anything even vaguely fucking spicy, it goes on Reddit. Reddit says he's a cunt, he's irredeemable. How many more times is he going to do this? Riot look at that, and then they take his co-streaming rights away. And it's like, it's no coincidence that right now, where we're at with fucking esports, is like the major sanctioned guy is fucking Caedrel. I got nothing against him at all. Like, we've talked about a bunch, and he's okay. You know, decent dude, but like, I think he's pretty fucking vanilla. And I don't think he really likes to push the boundaries on critique. I think what's interesting about Cadrel is like that's not his real personality. Like he's kind of cheeky and devious. But it's what I mean. He's realized there's this unfortunate sweet spot, which is, as I said, what people really crave is the authentic personality. But what you can do if you want to be successful in esports is you can be this kind of like. You can be this self-insert for what the fans kind of want to be. And that generally means that, like, you know, I'm talking, like, Day9 figured this out, like, a long, long time ago. Like, Day9 was just a super enthusiastic, gregarious guy who was always upbeat and always happy. Fucking tyrant behind the scenes, like, nightmare. I know,
he was the everyman nerd in a way.
But the everyman nerd, correct. And this is what, like, Caedrel's kind of feeling right now. Tarek does it over in Valorant, right? Like, I mean, I watch again, I know these people, so give me grace. I hope it doesn't hurt their feelings too much. This is just an observation. I've had conversations with Tarek in real life, okay? I know Tarek is more than yo, chat, is this real, chat? Dude, like, what? What, is this real? No shot.
Oh, he's way more of a thinker than people know.
No shot. The fact they even have this phenomenon called the fucking Valorant voice over in Valorant tells you that people fall into these like performative roles in order to augment and facilitate their own success. And you're right, Cadrel is definitely a lot different to how he would present himself on stream, but he's found the sweet spot. Everybody thinks he's popular. They know he's popular. In fact, no, they know he's popular. He is popular. They can't quite put the finger on why, but they know that if I want to watch a co-stream, I go there. And he'll have just enough on the stream where he'll say something that's enough. Oh, wow, okay, it's so authentic, it's so real. But, like, it actually isn't. It's very curated and it's very balanced. And what we've realized in recent days with Cadrel, unfortunately, is, yes, there's more. It's not just the things he says on stream that might be a little bit calculated. Okay, there's other things going on.
Let's transition into this because we need to. We're going to talk about the EWC and all the drama.
This is going to be another one of these like 4-hour marathons, man. Yeah,
nope. It can't be today, guys.
Whatever.
But I think with the EWC, one of the things we need to discuss is like the drama that has gone with Cadrel and co-streaming EWC. And I think what Cadrel didn't realize was he got offered just a titanic bag for this, guys. Titanic.
I agree with Rich's wrath, though. I think actually, surely once you're already a millionaire in the bank, like how, like, again, I can only speak for myself. I don't have millions in the bank. But I imagine there's diminishing returns on every million after the million.
Of course there is. Of course there is. And it's also, Richard, I mean, there's so much true about this, which is like what I was calling out on social media as well, which is that it's a different story to, quote, need the money. Like, look, I don't agree that anybody, quote, needs the money, unquote. Okay. I just fundamentally don't agree with that. My personal take is that people are fucking cowards. And if you need the money, you must not have any confidence that you could do anything else with your life to make money, which is ridiculous. Like, here's the thing. All of us, we turned down the money. What did we do? Made our own content. We struck out on our own path. Is that scary? Sure it is. But you know what?
Which, to be clear, didn't make us $6 million.
Sure.
Just want to reiterate that for everyone out there.
But here's the thing. Cadrel and other content creators are doing it on their own. Cadrel is a self-made personality.
Absolutely.
And you know how he did that? Very savvy control of his own brand, very savvy control of content, an insane grind. Think about this guy's grind. He was on the LEC broadcast, and then he was also co-streaming like two Asian. He was co-streaming every other game, basically. He stopped doing that now because obviously it's an insane schedule, but he did that for years, right? Years.
Very intelligent interactions with Riot as well to make sure.
Yes. Well, yes. And also, the other thing that he did that nobody else was doing was that he was on TikTok. I know this sounds insane, but people in esports have not done a very good job, particularly in League of Legends, of being on TikTok, the most important platform in the year 2025, right? Mm-hmm. And
still waiting on my boy Donny to fucking ban it. I wish he'd hurry up. I don't think he's gonna for some reason.
Weird. That just fell out of the news cycle. Do they just get like infinite
Turns out,
reprieves?
by the way, for Democrats, the one thing Donald Trump is behaving like a king on is his refusal to enact the ban on TikTok, which has been voted for. It needs to happen
by Congress.
Congress. And he just,
that's a different podcast.
The super secret podcast we record in the dark.
We'll announce LFN politics when you guys want it. Anyway,
we missed the window. Trump's out of office soon. What's the point? Trump bumps over, boys.
So anyway, like the point is like TikTok. What's weird is that nobody else is really using it, and Caedrel was blowing up on TikTok, and I think that was like a lot of his success. But he's been really good about taking advantage of all the platforms. Now, when we look at this, he is a multimillionaire, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's not like if he doesn't take this bag, his career is over. It is a 5-day tournament. It's a 5-day tournament. He can still cover the rest of the calendar. So the thing about Caedrel that I think he hopefully learned, I hope he learned out of all of this, is that, to your point, Richard, you can't be the everyman nerd and take this and pretend you know nothing about it because it's so blatant. Like the greed is just so extreme.
He's going to learn a few things. I don't think he has learned anything from this. I'll toss this up to Duncan because he hasn't talked a while. But here's the first thing I think he will learn. I think he'll learn that hardcore fans will listen to any old shit that comes tumbling out your mouth as long as it doesn't challenge their worldview. And that's the only way a fan can become disenchanted with you and not want to be your fan anymore. If they don't care about Saudi, this won't move the needle at all, right? But what I do think he's also going to learn is, I think he's going to learn the thing about being in a rock and a hard place. And what do I mean by that? I mean, put it this way, I very strongly suspect probably the right phrasing, which with me, hopefully that has an implication. I think Cadrel. I think the expectation from Riot was Cadrel was going to co-stream this event. The EWC is very important to Riot right now, and you're probably going to be like, "What? That makes no sense." It's a third party. We literally did an episode where it was just slipped in there, like they're going to expand the games. They expanded the games. EWC is going to be doing League. It's going to get bigger next year. All of this has come to pass. It's all there. The breadcrumbs are all there. All you have to do is pay attention. Well, listen, Riot, we've seen what's happening with their league, what they like to run. You know, EWC is a big fucking deal for them right now, and particularly offloading as much of their failing esports programs onto Saudi is a big deal. And every single number that goes into that fucking database that they can use to fucking corral and make it look like it's been a success is important. The EWC not being co-streamed by Cadrel would be a disaster. And so that, I think, is what Cadrel has learned, that sometimes you can't say no. Not because you can't, like physically. Of course you could. You could go, fuck you, Riot. Fuck you. Do you know who the fuck I am? Fuck you, Saudi. Stand with my LGBT homies, right? But what he's going to quickly realize is, well, we're just not going to give you co-streaming rights. If you're going to focus on this big deal, you're not going to get it down the pipe, and that's that. And I think he's had a bit too much of an insight into how the sausage gets made, Duncan. And I think it's shit him up, frankly. Based on his reactions, I think understanding you are more than just a guy in a room talking about a video game you like, and all of a sudden, if you want to make a business at this, you've got to be business. I think he's learned some fucking hard lessons, and unfortunately, in my opinion, I think he's gone the wrong way on them.
I mean, I've got two things to say on this. One, to touch on the latter part of what you were saying there, I actually think one of the most hilarious but also quite depressing things about Cadrel and others who have like about turned on the Saudis and now work with them is there's a vibe of not, well, you know, maybe it's not actually as bad as I thought it was. Now I've looked into it, or, you know, oh, what? No. The main vibe I get is, remember at the beginning of fucking Lord of the Rings, that amazing scene Ian Holm does where he goes, why shouldn't I have it?
Yeah,
to the ring?
exactly.
That's the vibe everyone gets. What they all do is they turn around and go, but everyone else is getting these big bags. It's like, you said you don't do it for moral reasons. Yeah, but he's getting one and he's getting one, and no one would flame him if he got one. It's like, I don't know what that has to do with you and your moral position, which is what you based the whole thing off. And then the other thing, and I actually think it's only Caedrel has suffered in this particular sense. Do you know what? Because he, by the way, quick shot, if he doesn't do EWC, you wouldn't even know he existed anymore. He's not in League of Legends anymore. So I actually think he's the only other person who would have taken the backlash, but the joke is the only way you remember he exists in League at the moment. Caedrel actually seems to be the only person who's taken the Saudi bag, who might actually, and this isn't I didn't come up with this, by the way, someone else did, but I don't know if they said it publicly, so I don't know if I'm not going to out them, but someone suggested this to me. I thought, what a brilliant point. They're the only person I've seen where it actually seems to have done tangible brand damage to them doing this. Like, because Caedrel's shtick, remember, was I am the most liked, most popular course.
There it is.
It wasn't. Like, Dom's angle always is like, well, I'm edgy. And the joke is, because he actually is edgy, follow the train logic, dickheads. That's why he's the only one who doesn't do EWC, because that would be the most punk thing ever, wouldn't it, you cretins? To be actually co-signed by every fucking political regime and money man in the world isn't particularly punk or edgy, is it? So you know what? Dom's actually on brand. He's figured out his fucking brand. He actually does do that. He has the whole thing of, I will go against the grain. Caedrel's whole thing was, I am the ultimate Venn diagram of fans. Cadrel is the centre point of the Venn diagram. Everyone likes me. In fact, more importantly, you don't need to like me, just don't dislike me. Well, you know what you managed to do? You picked one of the only topics where you didn't, this is where I know he didn't cynically sit down and focus group. You didn't realise there's a massive amount of your fan base basically were the dickheads 2 years ago going, I'm glad bloody all that Saudi money isn't in League like bloody say yes. And then you turned around after essentially giving overtures to them, some indirect, some blatant, about the idea, yeah, I'm just like you, mega left wing, love gays and all that. And by the way, there's another thing I'll just quickly bring up. Can we please, bearing in mind I've been in this industry almost my entire adult life. Stop the insane mainstream noob boomer take that esports is full of right-wing people.
It's
probably,
mental.
as you'll find out if you ever go to the FGC, it's probably one of the most left-wing young people spaces in the entire world of entertainment. Bro,
and it always
any
has
sports
been.
fan base is
Always,
going to be way more.
always.
So already, by the way, if you're going to do that and you're trying to be the most popular, the one thing I'd immediately tell you, mate, is don't counter-signal checks notes gays and women, you fucking lunatic. Like, that's basically like they're the fucking gods of the left wing. Like, so I also do think it's an underrated aspect. You could actually argue, Monty, quite literally, that this guy was printing so much money doing all the tournaments that aren't EWC, it might actually, in the long run, not financially, like the raw bottom line, but in terms of his brand, that might actually have done him damage, mate. It might actually, he essentially could have taken, and also he could have had the millions from the rest and had the W from this. He could have done the Dom and got the W too.
Yeah. No, I totally thought about that Bilbo moment in Lord of the Rings too. I was going to bring that up myself, but it's like, because basically you have to consider what would have happened if he didn't do it, right? And maybe Richard's right. There was some vague threat by Riot. That's certainly a possibility and would inform but we can't suppose that we can't operate on the assumption
I'd put a body part on it, not a little finger or something. Double entendre.
Your pinky toe. Look, it wouldn't surprise me either, just knowing Riot. But that said, I think that if you look at the effect of not doing it purely from a PR thing, like nobody would have cared if he didn't do it. You know what I mean? It's not like he would have lost this massive conservative Muslim fan base that he had because he turned it away. He could have literally done what he did last year and just be like, I need a break, guys. Totally reasonable within the schedule of League of Legends to like take a week off, given that you, as a co-streamer, you can co-stream like 100 hours a week in this game and still not get to all the games, which is insane in and of itself. But you know, and also it's just you can tell if you know how these things work, how cautiously he plays it, because all those clips were running around of him being like, well, you know, the Saudis check all your social media and they vet you. So I'm just gonna say it. I fucking love gay people. By the way, that is who they want to sports wash with. They want you to say that. They want
Can't be a useful idiot if you don't hold those opinions in the first place. I heckin'
love LGBTQ. They want you to say that and then take the bag and represent them, because in doing that, they look progressive while being not at all progressive. Because by having this figurehead, just like Team Liquid and Steve and their little rainbow on their jerseys, and then they censor it out of the Saudi version, right? You're not going to say that on the stream of the Esports World Cup. But as long as people think you believe that, then they start to, you know, those beliefs about you bleed into the Saudis because you're representing. Oh, they must be cool with Caedrel saying that stuff about the gays. That's what they would never care about anybody saying, I love gay people. What they care about is you saying, what could have nailed Cadrel is him saying, like, what about those Saudi human rights violations? Wow, it's crazy how many people they executed. That's what they don't want you to say. That's what they're vetting for.
By the way,
and that's why, by the way, as part of this is why they make you scrub your social media as part of your deal. It's why they made him. That's why they made Caedrel delete a tweet where he put the Chad guy on Chronicler, because you know what Chronicler was talking about? Human rights violations.
Yep.
Okay. And like he put a GIF. They made him delete a GIF. Like that's what that shows you what they're like. Did they make him delete a clip? I heckin' love the gays. Guess I can't get hired by Saudi now. No. Like they made him delete the fucking GIF that he tweeted to Chronicler.
But this is also the worst part about it. Like Duncan did a good job of highlighting it in his video, which is ultimately right. Look, I have seen many a person in esports have to do the climb down, like real talk. Like I just need the money, right? Simple as that.
Sure.
And look, I'm not like Monty. I'm gonna say this. I don't think you're entitled to earn a living from the thing you love, or I don't think you're entitled at all,
and especially without sacrifices, Richard. Especially without, it's like you can be entitled, but like, where are you willing to go with this?
Yeah,
right. You know,
totally
people. I hate this excuse that people use. People are like, but Monty, I have a family. It's like, I have 2 kids. You know what I did? I fucking sold my house and left Los Angeles and cut my cost of living so I could do LFN and stay in this business without having to deal with working for the Saudis.
Doing a regular podcast with a person that cost you millions, I might add.
Look, well, I mean, there's a business reason to do that now, Richard. And also, we've patched up our previous differences and realized that a lot of it was misunderstanding.
Yeah, but the joke is, Monty, he cost you millions from your team. Then you were like, well, you know what? Fair folks. Let bygones be bygones. Let's make a company together. Oh, sorry, Monty, I'm going to need you to not take millions again.
To be fair, Monty would...
Twice, you've done it to him twice.
Monty would probably be conservatively, like $5 million wealthier.
He'd have a pretty nice number, yeah.
Look, Richard, I don't care about that because unlike other people, the ends don't justify the means. Sure, and I totally see your perspective on these things. And I don't want the blood money either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were joking about it on the last episode, but I'm like you too. I would rather die right than rich. That's who I am.
I even told you, I always say it. Another reason logically, once we knew where the funding came from, it doesn't make sense to take it anyway, is it doesn't work for the brand identity that we're people with integrity who criticize people. You can't do that and then be funded by the bad guys. So I also think the joke is, even though all those dickhead idiots again tried to be like, Last Free Nation, what is this, some sort of bloody prepper
militia group?
By the way, the most generic, neutral name ever as well. It's not even vaguely loaded with all meanings.
Also,
the joke
as we've noticed,
that now,
oddly prophetic.
Yeah. Well, that's the point. Yes. That actually, inadvertently, that was just because it was a cool name because we know what pirate utopias. It actually has ended up being the one place where people actually can have these opinions. That's the maddest part.
Listen, I wanted the name the Boogaloo Boys, but for some reason,
well, it's a question. It's a question when I was criticizing Caedrel, people were like, well, what about all those people at LFN who work there? I'm like, I don't care. Here's the reality of LFN. It's a company. It doesn't have a political stance. People might, and I'm going to voice my opinions about this, but other people may have different ideas, and LFN's going to continue to grow. We're going to announce a bunch of new hosts soon. Is everybody going to agree on everything with each other? Of course not.
We'd be doing this for free. Let's be real. It's who we are now at this point. I can't speak for you. I would do this for free. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to turn up and talk into a microphone until the last person leaves the room. That's me.
Yeah. So it's nobody's ever going to agree on anything. And I don't give a shit what other people do in the rest of their lives and with their own social platforms. You can be for whatever causes you want to be because you're a person. Look, I can tell you, LFN's not going to take the Saudi money. We're just not going to do that. But we're not going to, LFN isn't going to tweet.
Even though, yes,
I disagree with Saudi Arabia.
As you figured out at home, people who work with it, LFN might take some of the money, but that is an independent action. By the way, I've come up with a new slogan, Monty. The new slogan, it's straight fire. Again, it's more from about 10 years ago back, but you can't spell whataboutism without tism. Because you know what, mate? It's pretty good, isn't it? It's pretty good. That is pretty good. That is pretty good. And the reason why I came up with that is because, mate, I even try. I'm too fair with people, believe it or not. It's why I get annoyed with stupid internet comments. Because I'll try and actually see what the person's point they're trying to make is, then decide if it's stupid, right? And what I've realised is some of the complaints and deflections on this topic are just beyond stupid. They're just people doing ad absurdum logic. I'll give you an example, right? So let's see. I'm going to call out someone who's been hypocritical. I know. I'll pick the biggest core streamer in the entire world whose stream, when turned on, can have more views than the real English language broadcast with sharks and legendary figures. I'll pick that person, right? And then what I'll do is I'll do a massive 1.5 hour video where I show you all the times they've lied, been disingenuous, deleted things. No. What I'm actually supposed to do, Richard, is that's fucked up and hypocritical of me. What I should do is I should get Dagon, who as far as I know might have never said nothing, and I should make a video. I'm guessing it'll be 2 minutes long. I have to make a video about him, but no, wait. To do the Dagon video, then I need a Yamato Cannon video. Then pause. Then I need to... Mate, so essentially now, to arrest fucking El Chapo, I have to arrest every dime-bag drug dealer in the world. And if I can't do that, I'm the evil one. This whataboutism has gone so far and stupid. It's mental. It's mad, isn't it? It's so mad, though. That logic will never make sense.
I mean, they call him Pedro, so I guess it makes sense, right? El Pedro.
It's all fucking coming together. No, I mean, look, it is ridiculous.
It's a great point.
I mean, one of the things that, like, look, we didn't.
And by the way, spoiler, you guys commit. Everyone tells me I have fuck all views. Make your own video about your battle can. If you've got all the straight fire material, go for it, homie. I don't think you've got anything, by the way. I've looked it up. Just fuck all.
Here's the thing as well. Like, we are not. We've made our opinions very, very clear. We understand it is a complex world to walk through without blundering into, well, I've just aligned myself with a nightmarish human rights violator. It's actually easier than you think, unfortunately.
Now, if you've been hauling around your fat old leather wallet that's 2 inches thick for too long, it may be time for a bit of an upgrade. And luckily, here at the Four Horsemen, we're brought to you by Ridge. Boom. Here's my carbon fiber Ridge wallet that I have been loving. First off, look how thin it is. You don't even have to carry the money. Mine has a money strap. I have a couple Korean bills on there, but who really carries cash anymore? Not that many people. So what this does is it can hold up to 12 cards, and all you got to do is put your finger in this notch and pop them out, and there you go. It has RFID blocking technology, so you don't have to worry about your cards getting scanned and your data being stolen, which is very helpful. You can get them in aluminum, titanium, like I said, the carbon fiber. Mine is a little bit of purple on the top, purple metal on the top. Beautiful, indestructible, and in case you do somehow manage to damage yours, you're in luck because Ridge offers a lifetime guarantee on their products. This is, in fact, the last wallet you'll ever need. It is sleek. It is slick. You can just slide it so easily into your pocket and not have to worry about a big fat square ruining all those pictures of you as your attention is just drawn straight to your pocket or sitting on it. Damn, that's uncomfortable if you've got a giant wallet. So switch over to Ridge. Get something a little bit more streamlined for yourself. They've gotten over 100,000 5-star reviews. People love these things, and once you have one, it's easy to understand why. Their key rings are also fabulous, so if you get the daily driver kit, you can get a key ring and a wallet for a discounted price. And for a limited time, our listeners here on the Four Horsemen get 10% off at Ridge by using code HORSEMAN, that's man singular, M-A-N, at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use code HORSEMAN and you're all set. After your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them the Four Horsemen sent you. Enjoy your Ridge wallet with its lifetime guarantee. So here's the thing also aside, that people don't mention, okay? So Caedrel can afford to turn this away, obviously, okay?
Sure. On the Dagon point, you're right. I mean, listen, I don't know anything about Dagon's bank balance, but I'm going to wager I'd rather have Caedrel.
Look, here's the other thing. The LCK casters, it's not like they can't afford to turn this away either.
Oh, by the way,
they have steady jobs.
Detail, just to make sure it's known on here, because if you don't watch some of the insight, you won't know this. The craziest reason that it's whataboutism, they bring up Yamato Cannon, by the way, is Yamato Cannon didn't take a bag. He just did it for free because he wanted to watch the games. Yeah. Like, can you not see a material difference between being paid to the blag? You know that whole blood money thing? There is no blood on any money. He isn't receiving any, you fucking idiots. Like, Cadrel is literally, and by the way, I mean literally, by the way, there's another point I keep making that people keep missing. I should do like a fucking cartoon or something. It's the only way you'd understand. If they literally still execute people now and in massive numbers, how close to the venue does the execution have to be before it ever gets uncomfortable? My joke for real is, would they have to actually swing the fucking sword? I don't even know. I don't actually know how they do the execution. I'm just imagining it's like Aladdin. Swing the sword, chop the head off, and would the blood have to actually spray it and Faker go like, oh, fucking hell, and back on Jungle, like, what would have to happen before it ever get awkward for you guys? That's what I want to know. Like, how would they go with this?
Here's the thing. No one can ever articulate the line. You know what I mean? Like, I've asked people, I'm like, okay, so if this isn't the line, what is the line? I don't know. It's like, nobody can articulate.
I'll know
the line,
it when I see it, Monty.
Oh God! And yet, here's the insidious thing about the way Saudi Arabia does things is that they just make it more comfortable over time, so the line keeps moving. That's the whole purpose behind what they do. Anyway, like, but back to the caster thing. As I've said before, the thing is, I have said I think, and I still believe this, casters should do the event. And the reason why is because if you don't do it, you get iced out of all of ESL. It's not like you just get iced out of Riyadh. Right? Yep. You don't just get iced out of Esports World Cup. It's like, well, this person isn't being very nice to our owners, so they're now blacklisted from all ESL events. And as we've said earlier, Riot themselves is like creeping closer and closer and closer to the Saudis because they want to unload the esports broadcast onto them. So if you are a caster, you probably should be really concerned about this. And the other thing is, especially for the LCK guys, especially for our LFN contributors, people like Wolf, people like Digon, people like Yamato, these people don't have opportunities to do international tournaments because Riot is a fucking piece of shit. Like, they will not hire these people for MSI and Worlds, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason why, just so you guys know, just going to put this out there right now, is because those spots are decided in advance, and your favorite LCS casters negotiate year-long deals that include Worlds and MSI. Now, why? A really good question at this point in time.
And it's part of being a made man as well, Monty. It's part of the package. Like
it's part of being a made man. But I mean, people used to say, well, the LCS casters are there because people know them more. And, those are the ones that people are familiar with. Well, what is it now, guys? Because LCS is less viewed than LCK English. So objectively, people should know them less than the LCK casters, the English ones. And so why wouldn't you just hire the LCK casters who also simultaneously know the teams better, who go deeper and win all of these tournaments, and they're more popular? So why are we hiring the LCS casters at this point in time? And as I said on Twitter, it's just because the best way to do that, the best way to work at an international event, is just to live in Los Angeles and do LCS. What is the reason behind that? Those teams don't make it very far. The broadcast isn't viewed anymore. So what the fuck is the reason? What is the reason? Right? But that's my point, is that the only way to work your way into these international events, the only opportunity that you ever have, is to do Esports World Cup. And as long as you aren't the one out there who's being hypocritical, who cares? We've always said, take the bag, just take the bag and own taking the bag. And this is what Caedrel didn't do. He makes all these excuses. Well, I didn't go to university, therefore I can't understand ethics. What?
Oh, man. No, listen, I want this response.
I didn't go to Caedrel. The people who invented philosophy didn't go to fucking university. Aristotle wasn't out there being like, look, well, I didn't graduate from the fucking University of Athens.
Okay, you wouldn't need a degree. Your words. I love gays. By the way, really reductive. Speaking on behalf of the LGBT community. Speaking on behalf of them, I'm going to just play my fucking B card, right? Fuck you. Boom, I had it the whole time. I'm playing it. We don't want you to fucking talk about us like that. We're good, right? Like, for real. Like, it's really patronizing and
condescending. What's the lowest hanging fruit ever? Hey, guys, you know what? I think they should have, like, peace.
Are you gay? Well, technically bi, but yeah, this is my boyfriend. Woo! Love it. So liberating. I'm just being me. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, it's pathetic. It is like that scene in Get Out where the fucking white guy goes, I'd have voted for Obama again if I could, to the black guy. You are pathetic right now, bro. So, like, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. I want to make it abundantly clear. The way. But yeah, Get Out, what a film. I want to make it abundantly clear, like, if you're trying to ingratiate yourself to a particular group, just don't make it condescending. Just be natural. We got our own shit going on. We're not a monolith either, by the way. We all got different opinions. Crazy to think we're just people, like, mad, right? So, you don't have to do that. You don't have to condescend. You don't have to patronize. But then again, back to the matter of philosophy and ethics. Your words, you said that. You said, I love the gays. Great, very happy for you. Glad you love gay people. You should love all people. Maybe not human rights violators, but as we found out, Caedrel has a big heart.
Maybe not MBS. Maybe not him.
Right, well, he's got a great smile. That's even the angle. That damn smile.
That's the problem also with the fact that a lot of left-wing people are anti-religious, because that was your get out. What you should have
said,
done,
I love all people, exactly.
You should have said, what would Jesus do?
Yeah,
you should have said, but didn't Jesus spend his time with tax collectors and prostitutes?
Yeah.
You could have done that angle too, Caedrel. That's basically what Steve Arnzett's trying to pretend he's doing.
Right. But then, okay, you said, I love the gays, right? Now, if you love people, you don't want them to be harmed, right? So to then work with a state that criminalizes them, persecutes them, in some cases executes them, this is incongruence. This isn't compatible. Now, all you have to do is actually say, look, I don't hate the gays, but a big pile of money is more appealing than any affinity I could have to a gay person that might be offended about me taking that bag of money from somebody that would execute them. That's it. It's really easy to negotiate. By the way, you will have gay fans that will forgive you. By the way, I'm not just talking about LS.
You can even use the LS argument of like they're still going to kill them anyway, whether you do the stream or not. That's totally accurate, by the way.
I guarantee you there are probably many gay, bi, trans fans of Caedrel that will happily come out and go, listen, I'm fine with any decision he makes. Because again, remember, we're not a monolith, right? So that's cool, right? That's totally cool. But what we observe is when you say this apropos of nothing, and then you immediately do something that makes that statement seem like a lie, it makes you, dare I say, a little bit sus in most people's eyes. It makes you circumspect. It makes you suspect. It makes you look like you're not a person of principles. And everyone's had to go through this crucible and learn this, because there is no argument. These two things are not compatible. The argument that you are a fucking ally, another term I despise, because you go to war temporarily with an ally to temporarily fix a problem. You don't love an ally. You're not related to an ally. You can't be a sibling to an ally. You're an ally. Is a temporary marriage of convenience in many ways. The adoption of the term ally really gives the fucking game away, and why so many people find it really grotesque to performatively say you're with us, and then as soon as the money comes along, well, so we're just left to get fucking stoned again, are we? Wicked. Cheers. Thought we had all them allies. Yeah, they're not around. But anyway, the point being, right, that all you have to do is just be honest about where your priority lies on your own hierarchical totem pole. That is it. That is all it is. That's all people want. That's all anybody ever wants. You don't have to say 100% like you are. Yo, what's the cool thing I could say in this situation? I'm totally that. Would you contradict that for $100,000 a day? Well, of course I would. Like, it's too obvious. People are not going to forget that, forgive that, move on from that. And to try and argue that, like, because every other day I pretend is mental. It is mental. I pretend, but for the 5 days I'm getting paid to not pretend, then I'm a good person. And if you do genuinely feel like I'm talking about, like, you said you love people, right? Like, I think it's very easy to walk the walk on this. Like, I stood out against the U.S. military. I've called out China for what was going on in the Xinjiang region. Anywhere where the people are being oppressed, I am going to call it out. People think I'm a Zionist. I've called out Israel. I just also don't support terrorist networks paragliding into fucking kibbutz and fucking killing children because, you know.
What a wild take, Richard.
I know. It's very easy to have moral clarity.
By the way, notice what Richard's nailing here is he's actually exposing indirectly, by contrast, that none of these people have any strong emotion. Because you know what? I would even give you a petty example. If you just asked me, I won't say who, but certain people I hate in esports, like work with them on an event. Mate, you could put 1,000,000 zeros on there. I'm going to keep thinking, I fucking hate that person, though. In the same way, Richard, is if I really loved someone, no amount of zeros would make you go, and then another zero, chop their head off. Like, I know what you mean. That if the feeling is real, the feeling, it's why here's the difference, I think, between what Cadrel went through and what a pleb thinks. A pleb thinks Cadrel ever sat there and actually had like a dark night of the soul, like, but can I take money for gay people to die? No. He had to think, can I take money knowing this might affect my reputation? That's a very different conversation,
to get away with
Richard.
it.
That is a very different conversation, isn't it? Because the joke is, if it was really he was tortured about the gay people, he'd still be tortured now, mate. That would eat you up inside.
The reason why he said he loved the gay people in the first place was to win the brownie points from his audience, right?
Oh, the
it was to get people on.
Is so
it was to get people because it was the right opinion to have. But the thing is that once you have the right opinion to have, you can't, if you walk back on it, people are going to call you out for being fake. And he just thought he could get it. He was so famous and he was so popular and people would forgive him for anything, that he could have his cake and eat it too. And like, you can't do that. You can't do that.
The most pernicious lie in all of this is that if people took a stand and said no, it wouldn't help anybody. That actually we should engage with the Saudis because eventually they're going to open up their hearts to all of us and how in the West we do things differently and how, gay love is just love. There's no need to preface it. It's just, and it's all going to, and they're going to, oh, wow, shit, man, we never knew. We were lied to by our religion and stuff. So now we realize, yeah, actually, this is wicked. Sorry for all the fucking beheadings and wow. I've seen Steve Arden set in a muscle vest now. I'm fucking guys, what? Listen to your argumentation. And if you want to be an ally, right, let me tell you what fucking helps, what actually does move the dial internationally. People standing up and saying, you know what? No, fuck that. And let me tell you how I know this works, because it's worked with every single fucking regime that has done this, right up until a regime that has more money and more influence than any other regime, right? And now all of a sudden, this is the one that actually, it's going to work our way for this one time. I've said it many times. I grew up learning about apartheid in South Africa. And the world came together and said, this is fucking evil, man. You've got a system where black people are being treated as second-class citizens in their own land by white people, white colonizers in some case, and you are telling us this is the right and natural order of things. Fuck you. Fuck you, actually. And the world came together and said, we just will not trade with this country. We will not have concerts in your country. We will not have sporting events in your country. If you want to come back to the fucking global group, you better fix that. That's despicable. It has no place in the fucking modern era. And South Africa were like, fucking hell, we've really shit the bed in this fucking thing. We've lost all of our trade deals. We've lost all of our cultural relevance. The people are getting restless because they can't see their favorite band, or our rugby team can't play anyone internationally. It's over. It's done. And we fixed it. And we fixed it with boycotts.
And by the way, that could have happened this time, too, because if you guys remember, Biden said, I'm going to turn Saudi Arabia into a pariah state. He said it.
He said it, and then he begged them to pump more oil, but whatever. So,
and then he begged them to pump more oil because he needed to get reelected. Well, shit. How'd that turn out?
Yeah. So this is what I mean. It's what I want to understand is, why is it this regime? And here's how I know people are disingenuous. I want to ask the same people that are doing all this moral relativism about Saudi, would you go and do a Republican fundraiser? Would you ever utter the immortal phrase, but conservatives buy sneakers too? Would you ever do it? And you wouldn't. And you would come out and you would have a laundry list of reasons as to why you wouldn't do it. Would you go and do a benefit right now for the people that died on October 7th in Israel? You wouldn't. And I know why you wouldn't.
Would you?
You'd have a laundry list.
You could put this even simpler, Richard. How much does it cost for Caedrel to wear a MAGA hat on stream? That is not bad. Compared to sports
or have Andrew Tate on his stream, etc.
Sure.
By the way, again, everyone in esports. By the way, this is what's so boring about all you whataboutism people. You all lost your mind over a tweet about Andrew Tate. Yeah. You're the ones now going, why is it a big deal?
Spoiler, I guarantee you, Carlos does not even know Andrew Tate the way he represented it.
No, of course not.
When I did that interview with him, I asked him that question a bunch of times. How well do you know the Tates? And he was like,
a few times,
we're friends. Come on, bro.
By the way, the joke of the video is he's essentially doing where the guy who's the fucking loser at the party tries to get girls in the background, hey, I'm maybe with them, but they're not really. He was doing the fake Instagram picture, basically. So first of all, that was completely overblown. And then the joke is half the people who got mad about that work directly for the Saudis or go to Riyadh at the moment right now. Yeah. But I actually have a bigger point that they're making. The most disingenuous point anyone has made is the Team Liquid argument. Because I've seen now loads of people who are left-wing people and consider themselves moral arbiters make this argument. It goes like this, Monty, and it's rich as fuck for the three people in this call. The notion goes, well, you see, when someone does and believes things you think are bad or wrong, you shouldn't make them a pariah because that will push them away. Exactly what you all did to Carlos, by the way. No, what you should do is you should engage with them in discourse and dialogue, and over time, via education, they can come to... Well, by that logic, you'll have never cancelled any of the people on this call because we were all endemic people to esports, put our whole adult lives in. You must, when you saw us going off the rails, want us to come back in the fold, right? All you left-wing people must have done the opposite of a cancellation. You must have had an intervention and actually figured out a path back for me, for Richard, for Monty, for Hacks, all those people. You must want us all back in the scene because it's really about, oh no, wait a second, we don't have billions to spend, so fuck us. We go into the fucking wilderness. We have to get kicked out of the mega city. We're with fucking Mad Max and all them fuckers. No, it's it checks notes. It's the people killing people we need to engage with and bring into the fold. I think you've given the game away, mate. Yeah. You've given the game away on that one because your behaviour has shown for the last 20 years that you do the opposite over the most minor, not even actual moral infractions or illegal shit. Just like you didn't like someone's jib, basically. But then when an actual murderer,
let's be real, comes along, you guys got cancelled because somebody compared if foreign imports into a league to termites in a house, and there was a Reddit thread saying that by comparing humans to termites, you were using explicit Nazi rhetoric, and that, by the way, that wasn't a fringe opinion.
The funniest part about that as well is if you remember the context, Monty, I was actually meaning it in a positive sense that I wanted like that Western team to be full of Korean players and just call the fucking Korean. So the real joke is it didn't even make sense like as an internal logic for the disc. But I agree, that's a classic one.
So look, to bring it round, and then we got to get into the LS debate before we wrap up the show. I think, look, why is it just coincidentally the one entity that has all of the money? In fact, actually, it's not coincidentally all of the money. You're all dead silent on the Uyghur Muslims in China. And we all know why. Sure. All roads lead to China.
Richard, what's so wild about this whole debate?
Why can't you?
Yeah, of course. But this is what people say. People are like, well, Monty, how come you never talk about the Uyghurs? I'm like, we do. Yep. We're the only ones doing it.
By the way, it's my favorite thing to do. Right, Richard, you just hate Muslims. Definitely do not, right? Live in Birmingham.
By the way, isn't that even an obvious thing?
Guys.
Isn't that an obvious thing that shows that and this is appropriate, that the emperor has no claws? Yeah. If China and the Communist Party don't have anything to do with Riot and don't have anything to do with League of Legends, then why can't we simultaneously have events there and watch the LPL and talk about the Uyghurs? Why can't we just do it all? Remember, if it's not a big deal, why? The joke is the fact that you know you can't, and inherently, as you're listening to this, you know you can't. Yeah. That gives the game away again. It doesn't need to be said explicitly.
The Hong Kong ring.
So whenever anyone goes, the only reason you're against Saudi is you're a fucking Zionist, fucking Muslim hater. I just go, but why then did I do all these videos on the Uyghur Muslim genocide? Why did I wear why am I here with the free Hong Kong, free Tibet, free the Uyghurs t-shirts in these videos? But people, why am I doing that? Why am I saying these things?
But Monty, why don't you talk about the teams? It's like, I did talk about the teams. I did talk about how the teams are responsible. I talked about how the developers are responsible.
Do you know the obvious
this is the latest thing.
Here's the other thing you guys are missing. If you just literally listen to what they're saying, you get what they really want. What they mean is just stop talking about this topic. I like that guy.
Yeah.
So what they mean is, even though, wait a minute, why aren't you talking about the Uyghurs and that? What, during the EWC discussion about Caedrel literally taking the bag and working for them? Like, well, what would that have to do with the Xinjiang area of fucking China, though? Yeah. What they really mean is just stop talking about that topic. I like him, he's cool.
No, but
it's also to make themselves feel better because they're like, I want to watch EWC, but if China's not a big deal, then EWC can't be a big deal either. And it's like, well, there are layers, there's layers of abstraction with the China issue. And we've also talked directly about how China, Tencent is controlled by the CCP, how, Riot is controlled by Tencent. And clearly they are not as autonomous as they like to say. So yes, I do think the Chinese government, this is what we talked about. How many more times can we say Vanguard is a terrible idea because the CCP could have access to your fucking computer? That is terrible.
But did you see what happened as well with the Washington Post journalists with TikTok, where it was just they were just listening to the fucking journalists naming sources and shit. Like, mental. So, yeah.
Least surprising thing ever, by the way.
Vanguard 100% doing that. But look, just to get into the LS stuff, just before we do, no one is criticizing Cadrel for taking a bag. No one is criticizing Cadrel for being a core streamer at one of the biggest events on the calendar all of a sudden. Nobody is criticizing Caedrel for even evolving his opinions to maybe realize, like, let's say he was one of these guys who came out, look, man, every government is fucked. I don't care.
Okay.
And he just adopted some sort of insane nihilist position. The problem everybody has with the Cadrel deal, and indeed everyone that's ever made this insane Faustian pact, is this. You said something was core to your values. We now realize it isn't. In that moment, though, are you going to just admit it was never about this for me? I'm never going to walk the walk on that particular issue. I like money. I'm here to make money, and I'm here to be able to retire and live an opulent lifestyle. And if gays have to get killed to enable me to do that, whatever. Just say that. Just say that, because, by the way, you would be in line with probably like 80% of the global population. Terrifyingly.
Here's the other argument, Richard, is he's like, you know, he could say, well, I need this money for Los Ratones to keep this functioning.
He did say that.
Okay, well, here's the argument. Why do you need to run a team? Why?
Well,
why? If it's a terrible business,
because why shouldn't I get to have a team? It's the same thing again.
If it's a fucking terrible business that is losing money to the degree that you have to take blood money to support it,
I'm also going to tell you something nobody
team.
at home will believe, but I know it in my soul to be true. It came to me in a vision. There are no sources. I've never talked to Cadrel about this, but I just know it about every big streamer. They are terrified of the day the audience walks away. They're terrified of the day they turn that stream on and a 40,000 viewership has dropped to 3,000.
It's not about streamers. That's the nature of fame, Richard. That's just the nature of fame.
Sure, but this is how I know it to be true in my soul. I've written about sports all my lifetime. I've seen Evander Holyfield fucking brutalize himself in the ring well past his fucking prime, fight after fight after fight, because he just loves to hear the fucking audience chant his name. And now he's got fucking CTE and he can't, one of the most charismatic heavyweight boxers of all time can't even string a fucking sentence together, just a mess of slurs and stammers, right? But like, yeah, people are terrified of the day the fucking audience goes away, the day they put down their box and speaker's corner, stand up, go to orate, and everyone's too busy listening to something else. And this is why he has a fucking League of Legends team, because a League of Legends team can always have fans. As long as I always have popular players and I'm running it, then I will always be popular by extension. I will always be able to insert myself into the conversation. Equally, am I going to take a stand on something like this that could have ramifications for my career? No, because like you said, Monty, Cadrel knows his limitations. But I think his limitations are imagined. But in his mind, the construct he has of himself is ultimately, I can't go and do a normal job, and I haven't made quite enough money to really be set for life, and I'm only 29. I don't want to be fucking 40 and having to get an office job and having people say to me, oh, aren't you Cadrel, that streamer?
One thing we haven't been explicit about, but this is also, you guys know this from knowing these people. If you talk to people like LS Storm, Cadrel, etc., I can tell you right now, even though to me as an outsider, this is so insanely reductive, I would never think this way. And I think it's just like fucking scarcity mindset. They would even literally say, Monty, yeah, but whoever does the core stream instead of me of EWC might start to gain on me because I've got my stream off. It's basically that stupid hustle mindset of like when you're asleep, your enemy is lifting and working out. Exactly. It's that mentality.
That's true.
It is true. Here's the thing. It is on a minor level. In fact, actually, that touched on a bigger topic we didn't bring up, which he clearly did hint at. He just didn't say it overtly. He said, in the past I just said it was a Mickey Mouse format. I think it'd be a one-off. The real giveaway is that, Monty. Here's the other reason Cadrel did this event this year. Because why not rip the Band-Aid off now? He knows now it's going to be an event every year. It's going to get bigger every year. As it gets bigger, like I said about being the costume, you're right. This time, by the way, I'm right. It wouldn't actually kill Cadrel as number one to not do EWC this time. But I'll tell you what, if he can never do it, Monty, and then his main rival, it might even be someone else next year. Who knows, right? Could be someone else could rise up. If that becomes like the second or third biggest event in League, then eventually it does start to impact him. And at some point, eventually he'd have to break anyway, wouldn't he? So to him, it's like, why not break now at the beginning? That's even one thing I do. I'll tell you the part I take the most umbrage about Cadrel's response stream the first day of the event or the day before, whatever it was. My biggest umbrage is this, Monty. It is that he didn't actually have to do any of the things you said. He never had to say, I don't care about KP. He could have just turned the stream on and said, listen, guys, I talk about video games. League of Legends is my main game. This is a League of Legends tournament. It is what it is. You think whatever you want. But here's why he didn't do that, Monty. This is where even Caedrel showed you fame is a fucking mask that eats the face. It is a disease, fame. Because he had to say that bit at the end of the video, Monty, that was so beyond the pale, where he dared to turn to his audience and simultaneously say, look, you guys can have whatever opinion you want, but if you choose to leave my stream, I'm paraphrasing here, essentially you have to keep the same energy towards everyone else in the whole scene that you're doing to me now. It's like, that is the most, that showed at the end, Monty, he never got it. At the end of the whole thing, he never understood it. Because why would I have to turn to Yamato Cannon, who made nothing from the event, and keep the same energy to him as you, making literally like people's entire year's salary in one day? Like, why would I have to do that? What that means, again, Monty, to bring it all the way back, is like, but this is unfair. I should get to have everything I want, and I should get to have all the fun and all the money and all the thing. And you know what? At the end of it, don't dare take my praise away.
Any more than anyone else.
I also have to get all my praise at the end as well. It's like, mate, this is egotism, and that's narcissism, bro. That's that part, and the rest of it I can forgive, or I can imagine it misguided. That part was a bit dark.
The only thing I'll add to that, Duncan, is I do understand the fear. I do get it. I do understand. You know, all of us have it, right? Like, you know, the all the jokes about, oh, you're washed and irrelevant. Oh, it's a barb. It fucking will sting you if you actually believe it to be true about yourself. And one of the saddest things I ever saw. Again, sorry, Monty. Me and Duncan are going to do that Northeast Brit thing again. But right, you know the movie Purely Belter, right? You remember it about the kid who wants to get a ticket to go and see Newcastle United, the game. Yeah, right. Well, anyway, this is such a bonkers story. Never told this one before, but whatever. So anyway, Purely Belter was like this bizarrely popular movie in like 2000, which was for like football. It was all this like kid movies coming of age, like Bend It Like Beckham was there and all that fucking stuff. Purely Belter.
What Billy, whatever.
Yeah, Billy Elliot, the ballet one. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a trend, and Purely Belter was basically one based in Newcastle about Geordies. Geordies are known for being like, you know, big personalities, funny, like fucking hell, you can't understand the word they're saying and all that stuff. And anyway, they made their own movie. Purely Belter in Geordie means like really good, and so it'd be fucking Purely Belter if we can guarantee the fucking game, man. Well, anyway, it was about these two kids. And one of the kids was a big fat lad, and the other kid was like a skinny lad. And the fat lad was the funny one, but he was also a bit violent, a bit rougher than the other one. That guy was called Sewell in the movie Purely Belter. He's a guy called Greg. And I know this because I worked with Greg in a call centre. I was at probably the bottom of my life, but I can't imagine how he felt. He had been in a mainstream movie and had to go into call centre work. And like, if you're an actor, you never think you're out. You're like, it's just one phone call away. But he had motherfucking bills to pay. Who knows? He probably got paid fuck all for the role. Probably spunked all that away like he was a young lad. You know, I mean, saying he's a young lad, he was the same age as I was. But by the time we collided in the call centre, I think we were born in the same year. But anyway, bro, his life was a horrifying window. Like, I'd done nothing in esports at that moment in time, but he used to come in and he looked fucking suicidal, man. Like, his average day was not something I envied. And all the lads were just fucking going, shut up, Sewell, fucking come in. Like, everybody knew him from the film.
Oh, God.
Yeah, bro, it was fucking unreal. And anyway, his life was just terrifying. And he'd done it. Like, by the way, I don't think he's ever been in another film. So that was, I don't even know how many fucking years ago that is now, right? Or maybe 20 years ago. But he's never been in another film. So he's probably out there in another call centre, grateful for the fact that everyone forgot he was in this fucking movie that was popular for 8 weeks in Britain. But, I mean, like, that's what all streamers are terrified of, man. Like, by the way, do you remember when streamers are big? They just have it. And then they just don't. Remember when we all had Ninja Mania and he's doing like Super Bowl commercials?
That's just entertainment, mate. That's just entertainment.
Of course it is. But like, I've always said it, I'd rather be fucking slow and steady wins the race. I'd rather have a small audience that wants to listen to me all the motherfucking time than some audience that are like just picking me out for like some temporary fad. I don't want to be the I didn't do it boy off the fucking Simpsons. Like, but I think inside of every streamer, but not every streamer, but most of the ones that get popular, like insanely popular, like Caedrel is right now, they kind of realize like this is it, and how long can I stretch this out for? And so you don't rock that boat because the terror is waking up one day, you turn the stream on, and no one turns up, and actually people don't care about what you have to say. Maybe don't talk about issues, Maybe just shut the fuck up and dribble. Does anyone really care about your opinion on these particular topics?
No. As he himself says, he's uneducated, so...
Probably should shut your fucking mouth, stream the fucking games, just count your fucking cash, and then when you're 40 years old, let's have a chat. Let's have a chat about your big fucking house with your nice fucking car. You're going to have all the shit I don't get because of the decisions I made in my career. So, you tell me if it was a good idea or a bad idea, but like...
By the way, that's even one thing. I make this point in the video, but obviously it's not the central thing, and it's a long video. Maybe people didn't get to this point. But the real joke about all this is, if I had one piece of advice in a time machine, I wouldn't tell everyone, go back and don't do the event. I'd say, just go back and never say anything except about the video game, you fucking idiot. You do a job where like 10 people in the whole world can do it, and if you're 11th, you just don't get to be at the event. You have to be at the events, otherwise, by definition, you don't do the job. You are only what you do, not what you imagine you do. And at the end of the day, you are just literally children's entertainers who talk about a fucking video game. Maybe just stay in your lane and talk about the video game.
Exactly.
Instead, you've all tried to do this thing where you're all acting like you're already like fucking Bono and you're at the height of U2 and you can make a political statement. You can't. Bono can still book a theatre out, mate, whether or not. In this scenario, they put someone else in your seat if you choose not to do
unless,
it.
Duncan, unless you're the type of fucking sicko who gun to your head, do you really love gays? I'm going to pull the trigger if you say no. If you're the type of motherfucker that still
I don't believe that anyone like that exists. Though. Well, there's the rare examples, and then the people who had to stand down. And by the way, some of them will never work in esports, or they'll work in small esports or on the fringes. Yeah, there are a few people. There are a few rare people.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If you're that type of motherfucker, then have at it. Right? But then again, if you're that type of motherfucker, you're never going to have to walk back any opinion you ever held ever in your life.
And by the way, the other reason why this is also so stupid is, I always say this, there's only two groups of people in esports consistently print money and never lose money: game developers and the pro players. They're the ones that, like, the pro player, by the way, also actually in esports, despite the fact it's technically illegal in California, have almost no say where they actually work and what events they go to. Even though if anyone ever did look into the PEA thing, that was actually the entire powder keg. They're lucky didn't blow up in their face, because actually when you have someone as a contractor, you can't just start telling them where they work and at what time and stuff, it turns out. But anyway, that never got put through the courts, unfortunately. There's also the Tfue thing with that as well, if you remember. But the other thing that people miss is the number one person you should blame if you're unhappy that EWC takes place with a murderous regime is fucking Riot Games. They have a godlike power to grant the license, and they aren't just allowing it at this point in time. As pointed out by people like Monty and Richard, it's almost intimated behind the scenes. They're going, and we could arrange a meeting with a Mr. Caedrel for you for your core stream. That is almost implied that that's part of the service at this point in time, isn't it? Come on. And the difference is, Monty,
the faker stuff is fucking wild.
I don't worry, I've got a video on that coming soon. They can also 100% do without the Saudi money, mate. They have an actual golden goose that spits out fucking eggs for faker skins, bro. Like, they don't need the money at all. But the joke is, Riot gets to be a monolith with almost no criticism, and Cadrel takes all the pies to the face. That's also the nature of the business.
And also on that faker issue, just quickly, like, faker gets to be based as hell for refusing to use skins, but he loves MBS. He loves MBS. Says he's like one of his top 3 celebrities.
And now he's taking...
There's going to be a video on this topic. It obviously won't be a 1.5 hour date. He literally, physically was the one in the photo op shaking the hands of the Red Sea guy or whatever the fuck to do the deal. Like, he's directly connected. But as I pointed out, this is why I'm going to do the video on it, he never gets a speck of dirt tarnishing his image somehow.
But I'll also add, he never came out and said, I love the gays, did he? So, he's insulated
because the real
himself
joke
from
there, Richard...
criticism.
The real joke there is, if I had sodium pentothal and a camera, I could show you what Faker actually thinks, and spoiler, he would have worse opinions than Carlos on certain things. But we all have to pretend that doesn't exist, and that somehow Koreans in their mind think like someone from LA.
Bloody sodium pentothal.
That's the world we have to live in. We have to pretend Faker thinks all things are left.
So LS did it.
Wait, no.
Okay, go on.
Wait. Now, Turtle Beach has been renowned for many years for the quality of the audio that they deliver so sweetly to your ears. And, of course, you can enjoy the delightful dulcet tones of the Four Horsemen through your Turtle Beach headset. If you want open-backed headsets, well, they got those. This is the Atlas Air that I'm wearing right now. It is a wireless headset. I'm just using it as a wired option because I need to hear myself on these podcasts, but it's ultra light and you can hear anything right through it, which if you like open back, that's fantastic. If you want a closed back headset, you may consider the Stealth 700 Gen 3s. We've talked about these before. Incredibly comfortable, fantastic sound quality, and the tech is just unrivaled in these. You get two wireless transceivers with them, which means you can plug one into your computer, your PC, another one into your laptop, a console in the next room, wherever you like, really. And what that means is with a touch of a button, you can just switch between the receivers and you'll be hearing your PC, then your PS5, push it again, your PC again. So it means you can use the same headset for multiple pieces of technology in your house without having to move it around. Not only that, but they offer simultaneous Bluetooth connection as well. So you can hook it up to your phone, listen to some music on Spotify, listen to us here on the Four Horsemen or your other favorite LFN podcast. Have a Discord call with your friends while you're playing on your Xbox. All of these possibilities exist, and they have independent volume wheels so you can turn up your music, turn down your game sounds if you want, all built into the headset. You guys don't have to take my word for it. Go look at some reviews of the Stealth 700 Gen 3. Glowing is how I would describe them. For the price, audio quality is unrivaled, unparalleled, and the features are absolutely fantastic. I love mine. I use mine whenever I'm not doing these shows and I don't need to hear myself in my own headset. Otherwise, I'm using this Turtle Beach one, which is still fantastic quality. So you guys check it out. You can also get their mice, keyboards, flight sticks. They have a new leverless fight stick that's been getting good reviews. Wireless controllers for your Xbox or your PC. They offer basically anything. If you're really into F1 sim, they have racing wheels, everything you would need. Their peripherals are utterly fantastic, guys. So head on over to turtlebeach.com and use code HORSEMAN, that's singular, M-A-N, for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com with promo code Horseman. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the Four Horsemen and tell them that we sent you. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. So, Richard, sorry, guys, we're running up against a time limit here for me, unfortunately.
Okay.
But here's what I will say. We've got an episode coming next week, so we will talk about the LS stuff because it does deserve to be talked about, but that's going to be a longer topic.
I mean, we shouldn't have took that 40-minute detour talking about bollocks at the start of the episode, but whatever. We've just podcasts become self-indulgent.
It wasn't bollocks. The Travis Gafford State of the Industry is news from this week. I disagree that it was bollocks. Anyway, we will talk about the LS stuff because the debate with Rich is very interesting and also hilarious. But one thing we do have to talk about quickly in regards to Faker is the T1 thing that got walked back recently, because the wild thing about T1 is, apropos of nothing and out of the blue, they released a formal video and written statement.
They even hyped it, Monty. They were like, tomorrow there will be a statement at this time. And this is mad.
We will stream it at this time. And you might be wondering, what did they have to talk about? Well, it goes back to the situation with Zeus and his contract that we covered on this show, by the way.
Now I understand why you wanted to fit this in. Yeah, we get to spike the football and say we were fucking right again. All right, my bad.
And Joe Marsh takes another L.
Here's the thing. Weirdly, Joe Marsh didn't take an L because he made the COO deliver the statement, the Korean COO, for all the things that Joe Marsh did on his own social media and in his own AMAs.
I bet Joe Marsh looked like when he was in that interview with his missus, man, Will Smith, doing that shit. I bet he was just like tears in his eyes. Please don't make me go out. I can't. Don't make me go out.
Just send the Korean guy out. And it's like, you guys can say, well, it was for a Korean audience. They literally translated Joe Marsh's AMA on a Korean website, which is part of the firestorm of this. So if you can translate that, why can't you just translate Joe Marsh speaking in English and making the apology?
Considering it was all Joe Marsh's fault. Like, I don't know.
Yes, it was entirely his fault on his own Twitter and via his own AMA that he responded to.
Yeah, like none of it happens if he just doesn't say anything. It's all.
I mean, my favorite thing is that it wasn't even an AMA with a Western audience. He did it translated into Korean with Koreans, and in doing so, essentially fucking lit the match on the entire bonfire because he doesn't understand Korean culture.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the fucking thing. Like, it is all linked in a bizarre way. This episode, it's this fucking desire to just fucking talk too much, man. Like, you just ain't got to be the man in every fucking scenario. You ain't got to be the protagonist in every fucking storyline. You don't have to be the fucking hero in every fucking, conflict. You just, and by the way, you don't get to be that. Nobody gets to be that. You are not in the fucking top percentile of all the people who've ever lived throughout human history, are you, Joe Martin? Neither am I. None of us are. What the fuck? We're just a bunch of dudes talking about fucking video games. What the fuck? Like, we managed to climb to the top of this, like, pathetically small hill, and then we look at
we're on the top of shit mountain. You get off. You get off, Joe Marsh. This is our shit mountain.
This is our shit mountain. It's like embarrassing to even be good at this in a way, isn't it? Right? And it's like, you fucking, you couldn't, you were like, I'm about to say something that's probably profoundly untrue about a prominent Korean player and a prominent Korean talent organization in Korea as a non-Korean, while I'm the CEO of one of the most popular Korean organizations. This will be fine. Like, it's not going to be fine, is it? Because it's not going to be fine. Well, you just didn't have to say anything. Why not
Well, also, remember, they also stupidly themselves admitted they would do legal proceedings against all those parties, which I think, spoiler, to cut the long story short, is why they had to probably apologise later on, because I imagine eventually the other side, actually, I'm pretty sick of you lying about me publicly. I think I might sue you. Good idea, Joe.
And also just
all right, then, we'll
it's just a profound lack of understanding about how the press works in Korea, because as we've said many times on this show, you can be sued for defamation in Korea, even if it's true. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's one of the main problems with freedom of speech in Korea is that a newspaper can report on a true story.
Same thing in the UK.
And if it damages somebody's reputation, they get sued and have to pay.
Yeah, we've got the same
insane.
thing. It can literally be argued that it still meets the standard of defamation, even if it's absolutely true, on the basis of, was it ever in the public interest? That's how we do it. We've been lots of famous cases. Like, there was that Formula One guy. Again, I'm not a Formula One guy, but like, he was like he's dead now. He went to like an S&M dungeon, and the women that were like whipping him were dressed up like a certain regime from back in the day, and but whatever, right?
An oppressive one, Richard. I take it.
Yeah, but just as well, they're not doing esports events now, or we'd be having an awkward conversation. But anyway, like a tabloid ran with that story and basically like said, "This is what he's into, isn't it sick?" And the courts ruled like that's defamation. Like, there's no need for that to be in the public domain whatsoever, and it's got nothing to do with his job, and it doesn't alter the safety of the public or the interest of the public in any way. And that fucking tabloid got fucking sank. They had to pay fucking millions out on that one. So we got the same shit.
Yeah,
I just
think people are used to the American defamation, which like you can lie publicly, but if you think you're telling the truth,
absolute truth is a defense. And if you didn't, if there's non-malice, i.e., you believe you're telling the truth, that's fine as well. It's really hard. If it's really hard to get got in America.
It's really hard to prove, but in America, you have to basically, they have to be able to prove that you knew you were lying.
Yeah.
For defamation, which is obviously ridiculously hard to do.
The standard, it's why the press is so fucking shit. It's why America's media landscape is the way it is. Like, unfortunately, there needs to be some special standard for the press, but it just doesn't exist.
That's not the point here. Like, that's a different conversation.
Yeah. The point is Joe Marsh and his big fat stupid mouth.
The people is like Joe Marsh. I don't think realizes that the reason, I presume the reason why that this statement came out was because either the agency or HLE basically had put legal pressure onto T1. And HLE, by the way, could have absolutely just used Zeus and said, hey, Zeus, we're going to pay for some lawyers for you for this, buddy. Because here's the thing. I've said this before, but the truth behind the HLE T1 issue is that this is a pissing contest between billionaires. The son of Comcast, the Comcast CEO, owns T1, okay? The son of the chairman of Hanwha owns HLE. And what these guys are they're young guys who are in a pissing contest because they're sports owners, they're billionaire sports owners, and they were fighting over this player. So I bet you that it's, well, I won't say I bet you. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that the HLE was guy who's like, let's twist the knife a little bit. Zeus, you want some lawyers for free so that we can get this out of them? And sure, the fans were also harassing Zeus. And surely Joe Marsh should have realized that via the fan base that he created and the K-popification of T1 and the way that the Koreans fans react to K-pop idols is that they would go attack Zeus personally.
Of course.
That's what they do.
Yeah. I mean,
and so
that's also the culture like he's lent into when it behooves him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. There's
nobody forced T1 to K-popify T1. Nobody forced them to do that. Has it been successful? Sure. You know, they've done a great job with it. But you have to understand that if you then go and try and demonize one of your former players, that player is going to be very viciously attacked as a result.
And remember, Monty, he also initially, this is why people forget how many times they changed their story on T1's side. The initial one from Joe Marsh, remember, contained that really weird, like, quasi-anecdote about the notion the previous year some evil LPL team had almost, whisked away Zeus. And they make it sound, mate, like they were human trafficking him and they caught him at the fucking airport being shoved in a fucking suitcase or something. Because the reason I bring this up, Monty, is they tried to play initially the idea that, like, even Zeus didn't want this to happen. This sinister agency or Annual Life or someone's done this to get him over. Yep. Which also, by the way, you are basically, when you say that, almost saying, like, rally the bannerman, we have to save Zeus, he's being kidnapped by like a war bride or something. Like, so first of all, you make them hate the agency, you think they're unprofessional and the other team. And then the joke eventually it all turns on Zeus. Yep. And suppose you've got loads of death threats. Yeah, like, you've misplayed this PR, by the way, PR-wise, so badly, it's insane.
Oh, I mean, like, just a mega fumble from start to finish. But this is what happens, man, when people get high on their own supply. It's one of the crack commandments. You don't fuck with them, right? And it's like, people like Joe Marsh honestly think they're just, like, bigger than you are. Like, but you don't fuck around in Korea, homie. You ain't from those parts. You don't know the people. You don't know how that's structured. There's a certain way things get done out there. Anyone that worked in StarCraft will tell you that. And it's like, how the fuck can you not know that and think you're going to be able to just get to throw around loose talk like that and negatively impact the players? Because, by the way, that's the type of thing that would, like, maybe haunt your reputation moving forward. Like, having a fan base believe you were somehow, like, disloyal or a piece of shit or greedy. Like, people hold on to that shit. The reason the K-popification
also
was,
imagine doing that to someone.
Those players,
Imagine doing that to someone after you lowballed them after they won the World Championship. Bro, this is why I don't get T1 fans. You are literally cheering on the matchstick owner of Factory Guy, exploiting the girl who dies of blindness, you moron. You're cheering for that side. I mean, how disloyal is she trying to get a better job? Like, you're mental, mate. You're mental.
And as we said beforehand, this was a really easy thing to interpret because the answer was you just didn't give him a good offer. Yep. That's it. And Hubble Life gave him a better offer.
When you see the later really back and simple. Forth, it's basically implied that that's the whole reason why they didn't go back and forth. They were like, right, this is where you started. Fuck it, forget it. We'll go the other people. Yeah.
They negotiated very badly, and they're trying to cover for their own tracks, basically. Yeah. And I don't know if that's because T1's budget has been cut, so they couldn't offer that much money, because obviously they've been spending a fuck ton of money. And even for a billionaire, there comes a point where the bleeding is too much, right? The bleeding is too much. And here's the other thing that really shows that Joe Marsh does not understand Korea, as if every other point of reference makes it very clear he doesn't understand Korea. Bro, why are you fucking with the chaebols, dude? Like, Hanwha... like I said, Hanwha it's one of the heirs of the Hanwha Empire. Now, this isn't like, he's thinking in an American sense. Well, I've got one of the heirs of the Comcast Empire. So therefore, this is how much power I have. And dude, you don't know. Korea is the most capitalistic country on earth, and what they have created is basically a capitalist nobility. And you're like, oh, that's what's happened in America too. No, you don't understand, guys. You don't.
But if people don't know, Hanwha isn't just like life insurance. They do like aerospace and like weapons and stuff. They do everything. Yeah.
They're an explosives company originally, and I've said this before on the show. Every year on their anniversary, they put off a giant fireworks demonstration over the Han River in the middle of Seoul, and that's televised, guys. And it's like, this is where Korea is. The festivals are corporate anniversaries that are broadcast on national television.
It's full Blade Runner.
Oh, it is. For sure.
It's full
for sure.
Runner.
And they're wonderful things
the
about
joke
Korea,
really is, Monty. It is like when you go to the shop in Korea, the joke is you're just buying at the company store. Like, it's all just fucked up, crazy technocracy.
Look, you've on our movie show, Foreplay, you've referenced Cloud Atlas. Cloud Atlas has a future version of Korea where it's like, people think that's the capitalist extreme. That's now, guys. That's just now in Korea. It just they're like, oh well, here it is with some future technology, but the feel is the same. And so for this guy to go fucking around with the chaebols, like, you have to understand that these people control the levels of the levers of power in Korea in a way that is incomprehensible to a Westerner, because there are no antitrust laws. So compared to the Korean economy, these companies are significantly larger. I think a Samsung is like a quarter of the Korean economy, right? Yeah. Which is insane. These companies would not be allowed to exist in the West because they would be broken up for having monopolies, right? So for you just to rock up and start to like fuck with Hanwha, like, you have no idea what the effect of that's going to be. Yeah. None. And like, so the government was probably involved in this in some way, because the Hanwha is probably just calling up a bunch of people in the Korean government being like, look at this Western asshole, lol. And then that's where the pressure comes in. And now you have to release this statement. And it's like, what was the purpose of doing this? What was the purpose of doing it, Joe Marsh? How many millions and millions of dollars did this cost you?
I mean, it certainly will have come at a cost. And by the way,
should have just given it to Zeus. Should have just fucking given the money to Zeus.
Which is crazy. but like, I also think in a moment there was like there's always like a weird fucking power dynamic. You know, you never want to, like, show players that they can have the bag. So you're like, listen, we have to do it this way. And then what you hope is they're going to ask for the thing that you were always going to give them, and you're going to come down and they're going to go, well, if I have to temper it, can we meet here? And it's like, I was always going to give you that and more. But now we've had negotiation, like fucking foreigners when they go abroad and they go to a country where haggling's normalized, they just feel they have to fucking do it all the time just to experience it. And I kind of feel there was probably a bit of that going on, and it just backfired massively. And to your point about fucking the soft power, and it's not even soft, is it? It's fucking very hard.
It's not soft, dude.
Yeah, that these corporations wield.
The only power, Richard. Like, here's an anecdote for you. Okay, what happens with these Korean companies is that the CEOs of the chaebols, which are the really big companies in Korea, they get put in jail for embezzling, for financial fraud. Yep. And then what happens is the president just pardons them and is like, well, they're too important to the economy. So they just get out every time. Here's a story from OGN for you. So OGN, we were supposed to have a corporate party at some point in time. It was like, we had finished the season and we were all going to, go out and have dinner and drinks afterwards. That was canceled. Do you know the reason why that was canceled, Richard?
Go on.
Is because OGN was owned by CJ, which is one of the chaebols. The CEO of CJ was put in jail for embezzling from CJ, and we were supposed to feel sad about it, so they canceled our fun party because everybody had to be sad that the corrupt CEO was put in prison.
Fair.
That's Korea.
Yeah, listen. I saw a little bit of it via WCG, like with Samsung, because that was obviously Samsung shit. And that was pretty fucking crazy, and but I like don't have the level of experience that you and Duncan do, and it just
imagine you're working for a subsidiary of a major Western corporation. they are, but imagine you're working for a subsidiary of a major corporation, right? Like pretend. Let's just use the Comcast example. Pretend you're working on an NBC television show. Okay, so we just wrapped our season. Let's go have a party. Well, we can't because the CEO of Comcast was put in jail for financial fraud. That's weird. Why can't I have a party? I have nothing to do with that. It's so far removed from me.
Yeah. I mean, that is just one of those things. I mean, I will say, like, I don't think with American corporate culture, it's a million miles away from that, where people would say, "Oh, the optics." Yeah, that's what that's what they would say in that instance. But think about the optics, or do it quietly.
I don't know. Yeah. And anyway, so this is all to say, like, the T1 stuff is ridiculous. We've been completely redeemed on that. All the T1
Did
fans
anyone
were
doubt
wrong.
us on that?
Of course.
I never saw it. I mean,
the T1 fans did.
Like, come on, guys! Like,
the best thing is they always think they've got
Richard.
It's
I only accept.
How are they going to get out of this
victory.
one?
Yeah, I mean, no, you should do it. Right? I'm not going to. I was told by a editor I worked for. He said it is super important that if you are ever right, you immediately do a follow-up story about how right you are. Right, and it's like, I was like, no, I've never heard that in journalism school or nothing, mate. And he went, no, trust. And it is something that I do like to do now. I think in the new media landscape, it's acceptable to.
Richard, this isn't a joke. Here's the thing. Me, I believe this. Yeah. I didn't actually have this idea. Okay. What happens is I've allowed my YouTube manager, essentially, with editors, to just make like compilations of all the match, cannibalize it, right? Richard, he's made something mad. I didn't even tell him to do this. It's just funny as fuck, so why not? I think he's made something like 6 videos saying I was right about Simple just throughout the years. It's like there's like number 6 one of it, Monty. Like, I was right about Simple. There's 6 there. No, it's real. It does work. I can't lie. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
Anyway,
it's true.
So, even I almost feel a tiny bit. She was like, "Come on, 6 of them.
6 of them. 6 of them." But I will be posting all 6 of them.
So any final thoughts on T1 as we wrap this up? I promise, guys, we will get to the LS next week.
Yeah, listen, I mean, look, I'll just say on the T1 thing, I mean, it was the most obvious story to, like, intuit if you know anything about all of the players, and I could have absolutely, but I think we even predicted the humiliating climb down, right? I think that's the phrase I used, if I remember correctly, on that episode. I said at some point he's going to have to do it, because if you make yourself an enemy of the Koreans that do big business in Korea, you are fucked in a way that you aren't in a lot of places. Like, I mean, just straight up, anyone that really has their finger on the pulse of esports knows that. I can't believe for a second a CEO of T1 fucked this up. But then again, you see, I can believe Joe Marsh fucked it up. He showed himself to be something of a ridiculous figure in esports. And I think ultimately he's like the tourist guy, like new money, you know, set for life no matter how it breaks, living out some sad little fantasy about where he gets to be important, and he'll be doing it in another industry probably inside of 5 years. I mean, is he still CEO of T?
No, he'll continue to be. He's too tight with the billionaire family. He's a lifer, man. He's a lifer for Comcast.
I think he'll get bored, mate. I think he'll make a cunt of himself one too many times and just be like, cause, like, honestly, the ridicule gets boring.
Not sure about that one.
Well, listen, I'll have a bet with you. I bet he's out within 5. There you go. Bucket, ship it. Put it in what I'm going to get my editor. Put it in a clip about how I was fucking.
Joe Marsh career watch begins now.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, like, you know, it's been a nice episode. Good to catch up and shoot the shit. But yeah, I mean, like, I think a lot of this stuff was kind of very easy to predict. That's the common thread of all of the stories. It's people wanting to have their cake and eat it, even though I know that's not the correct idiom historically
Don't eat the
speaking.
cake.
And also just fucking, you know, they just overplay their hand every single time. It's just the esports way. We just can't be balanced, rational people and think like, you know how they say the best chess players in the world think like 50 steps ahead? The smartest esports person thinks too. So what the fuck are we doing?
Oh no, esports is one of those. You just have to have one eye, and you're the king of the blind. That's just all it is.
Yes, for real.
Like, we don't even have 20/20 vision. We have one eye, and it's half working. Because I know what you mean. By the way,
literally in some cases.
The best example, I always said this on By the Numbers, the ultimate triumph of By the Numbers was we literally almost day by day tracked and called out the obvious ridiculous shenanigans that Nickel and Ion was doing with the Stars the whole time, as they were at one point the biggest team in the world, Monty, to eventually now so irrelevant that like Danish players don't even play in the fucking major playoffs nowadays unless they're Carragher, who doesn't play for a Danish team. So that sort of tells you the legacy of that organisation when they got to have their say in how it was all run, you know, not just ride the coattails of the greatest lineup ever to place a yes. But one of the maddest things I always used to tell people was, listen, we are insiders within Counter-Strike, but even half the time then we were just guessing, because you could just fucking spitball it and eyeball this shit from the outside and see it never carried any water. It was rickety. The fucking car was going to have sawdust in and not get to the end of the road. Like, this was just obvious if you had any fucking nous.
Even with the journalism, I could say, I bet he's going to do this, and then I would lift over that stone. Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
there's the crime.
And by the way, the T1 one is the most ridiculous.
The metaphorical crime. He never committed crimes.
I have zero inside information about T1. It was just so obvious this dickhead guy at best knew nothing or was lying the whole time. And in the end,
just Occam's razor,
a little of column A, a little of column B. Yeah, but the mad thing is, Monty, to every fan, they 100% bought it like a mark every time T1 spoke. If you want to really have a good laugh, boys, pull up on your stream one day the last thread about T1 addressing this and sort of saying they were right. It's every person on Reddit like, wow, they've got him this time, so I knew that was right. They fall for the wrestling trick every time. Yeah. It's mental. Yeah. They never ever they can never tell it to work. I don't get it.
Yep. It's wild.
I mean, it's just like, it's like if you know how any negotiation works, not even sports, not even esports, it's a negotiation. It was very obvious how this played out. It's just like one person didn't offer enough money and the deal wasn't taken. There was a deadline. End of story.
Well, I also forgot to say one other thing as well. The craziest, most out-of-place comment of all is if you ever see the AMA by Joe Marsh, which I believe is actually something mad like in January of this year, it's so long ago. He even says in the AMA, like, this will be the last time we address this. Right, here's another reason. If I was the agency or Zeus, I would sue the fuck out of T1 because they never stopped fucking bringing it up, Monty. They themselves might have gone out of their way to bring it up something like 3 or 4 more times. Usually, by the way, when there was like a different drama, like they were trying to replace a player and that was unpopular. So they would just keep stoking the flames of this one thing. You know what, Zeus? If your family is listening, I will appear. You pay my ticket. I will come to South Korea and appear as a special expert witness with a knowledge specialty in esports history, and I will testify against T1 because I actually think what they did absolutely is harassment. Like at this point in time, that's not like one time they turned fans against you. That's like every month they just woke up and turned the whole fan base against you again
for no reason.
If at the end you got a gang load of death threats, I think they were to some degree culpable for that. Yes, I actually think that's entirely a reasonable statement.
I think this is probably one of the examples of a time where, yes, you could have accurately predicted how the fans were going to behave, what would happen to the player that they were going to behave to, and ultimately understand that if you just lower the temperature on your language, or better yet, as we've said, say fuck all because you're lying, you could have just easily walked away from that. I think sometimes you can't always predict how a fan base is going to react. You're not always responsible for your fan base. I think it's very unreasonable to hold people to that standard a lot of the time. But this is one of these instances where you manufactured the situation, you told lies to make you appear better than you did. You agree now publicly they are lies, or however they phrased it. I can't even remember from the exact statement. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, the fact that
they just said it was misinformation. Or something.
Misinformation.
Bizarrely, they didn't call lies. By the way, you do notice one of the main
who created that misinformation? Joe Marsh.
One of the main lessons of this fucking episode is 2 things. One, just take the odd L. Just take one. Yeah. You know what? You can just take them. Like I said about the impeachment thing. If nothing happens, dickhead. Someone just thinks and they get fought. Then you just don't say anything. It goes away, and we all go on with our life. Like the same person banging on our EWC, by the way, wouldn't keep bringing it up if you didn't then address it 3 times. Yep. And then secondly, there's a famous saying, when you're in a hole, don't keep fucking digging. The digging to avoid the L always makes the L even worse. It compounds it. You're in a bigger hole at the end, aren't you? That's the stupid.
Learn that, man. Been there when it's been happening to me. I can tweet my way out of this. You, in fact, cannot tweet your way out of this. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's speaking of L's. We'll talk about LS next episode. And we've got some more stuff to cover then, too. It'll be back next week, guys. So until
we should
then,
bring LS on as a guest.
Esports still.
The sad thing is, he would probably agree to appear, even though that would get him.
No, we're not doing it.
Ill-advised appearance in media.
No.
Right. Let money get out of
him. We're not going to do that to him.
Bye.
All right. Esports still led to S. See you guys.
Bye.